Leisure time. Did you ever stop to think how much leisure time you really have? Some of us put our leisure time to good use. And some of us, Ken Michaels, for example, spend most of our leisure time just moping.
Moping? He thinks I'm moping. Well, who wouldn't mope? There's nothing to do, nobody's around. You know how it is. I went down to the bowling alley, went over to the drugstore. None of the gang was there. All my friends are busy, so what's for me to do?
Do you suppose Ken has more leisure time than his friends do?
Huh? Well, no, I don't have more time. We all spend about the same amount of time in school, and the rest is leisure time. I've got nothing to do but wait for supper. My friends have more things to do. They're lucky.
Ken's pretty lucky, too.
Listen to that. All right, I'll bite. Why am I lucky?
Because you have so much leisure time. Time in which you can do things you enjoy. Time in which you don't have to work.
Like this, huh? Is that good?
Let me show you a few things. Suppose you had lived 100 years ago. What would you have been like? Take a look.
Where? Oh, is that me? Is that what I would have looked like 100 years ago?
Well, perhaps. But now, well, let's look back 100 years again and see someone else.
Who? Hey, that's my dad.
Young man, you get off that bed and get to work. After you clean out the stable, you can build some new steps for the back porch. While I work 72 hours a week, no son of mine is going to loaf.
72 hours?
12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Tomorrow morning, young men, you're going out to get a regular job. You can work too, and earn your keep.
Not so good, Ken? Well, let's try another picture. Say about 50 years ago.
Oh, hello, son. Well, say, I've got some new pictures for the stereoscope. We'll look at them tonight. Don't forget about your chores. Have them all done by the time I'm through work. And keep the woodbox full.
Boy, how long will you work, Dad?
Why, 10 hours. 10 hours a day, every day except Sunday.
60 hours a week? Boy.
Well, Ken, let's take a look at your father's time as it really is today.
Hi, Dad. You sure don't work as long hours as they used to.
That's right, Ken. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do so much work in so little time. This 40-hour week suits me fine. And some people even work shorter hours nowadays. But by the way, Ken, how would you like to play a quick round of golf before supper? I think we can work it in. And then later I'd like to shellac that new bookcase I'm making.
Well, Ken?
Yes, Dad does enjoy his leisure time. And to think that a few years ago, people didn't have nearly so much time to themselves.
Yes, we've gained a lot of leisure time in the last century or so. All of us.
Wait a minute. All of us? Mother should hear you say that. She's always complaining that she doesn't have enough time.
Well, let's see about that. Can you picture your mother as she might have been 50 years ago?
I guess so.
Odora, I think there's a better use of your money for sure. Third World Revolution when? High Terra 3.
It really is like a chat room. It's like I open up every time I launch a stream.
Y'all celebrating the holidays in your own ways, huh?
That's what
I got
this sounds
sleeping
like.
pills with suspiciously long warnings, not taking it for now.
Oh, I open it up and it's a chat
Jared
room.
got the first words of stream instead of chairman. That's
I
unusual.
don't mind it for now. I think bigger streamers mind.
Aloha chairman.
A lot of
It
other
was
streamers
about
mind.
time.
They have rules. It's like, you know, don't have like conversations. I have like personal conversations. I don't care for now. I think in the future I might care. But for now I don't care. So it's the Wild West forever.
Parrot got rebellious today.
A little bit. I let him out. I remembered it's been a while. It has been a considerable length of time since I've last let Parrot read stuff. Parrot enjoys reading things. It's the only thing Parrot can do. So.
Hi everyone. Smiley face. Your chat is small enough that I think it's acceptable.
I think so too. I think that's given enough time in the
Hi,
future,
Mabby.
maybe not, but for now it's fine.
No personal conversation? Screw you, chairman. How's the wife at Odora? Hi May.
How's the
It's
wife?
a more intimate experience here. Buenas, Mabby.
Oh, not yeah, that wasn't a question directed to me. I was like, that's a strange question to direct to me. I mean, I'm 60. I guess most people my age are married and have kids, and most of them are in heteronormative couplings as well. So it would make sense
Chairman,
if you asked me
how were your holidays?
About my hypothetical wife. You know who my wife is? My wife is your Oshi. That's right. I'm married to your Oshi. Whoever your Oshi is, I'm married to them. The thing I keep in secret.
Your wife is Chad.
My wife is not Chad. My wife is absolutely
You don't look a day
not
over
Chad.
50 though.
I look a day over 50. Thank you. Thanks. It's all thanks to our team. It really is. All right. Get out of here, Barrett. You're my Oshi is itself says. All right. Okay. I'm not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not married to your Oshi. There's some German sitting in a tree. I mean, the guy's married, but is he married? No, I think he's. I think he's still like. He's like long-term partners with someone, but I don't think he's married. Actually, I'm not sure. Now the wife, you're more like the side. You are the internet strangers that show up to a broadcast where a generic VTuber starts talking about generic things. How were your holidays? They were good. So you guys talking about Christmas presents. Whole ass mattress? That's really nice. I could use a new. Actually, no, not now. In the near future, I could use a new mattress. For now, I'm fine. Need a rich boyfriend? Cannot keep living like this? I understand. I understand. End of year coping with a bunch of drugs. Does it count? No. You shouldn't. That shouldn't be a gift. I understand if it's a coping mechanism, but there are healthier ways to cope. Come now. Riddle isn't in chat every time I was always sort of like soy jack pointing. Did you guys follow each other? I didn't know that. I didn't know my viewers followed each other. That's strange. Interesting. Love being a freak in a random digital broadcast to build character. I don't think it does. I think being true to yourself builds character. Because you're not gonna behave like this in real life. I hope. Would hope. Friends, yeah, you guys follow each other? That's very strange. It's like... That's very strange. I feel like I missed out on some integral part of the discussion that gives context. Sure, don't worry. Like, you jumped in the same time I jumped in. I don't understand what's going on either. Beyond... we're talking about Christmas holidays, and we're talking about... Briefly talking about parasocialism. Don't share your personal information if you are not okay with it being shown to the entire world. Okay. Don't do that. I don't even post anything in my like private accounts that like do contain like my identifying features of my existence. I don't even do that. I don't even want to do that. I can't imagine doing that, to posting it to a bunch of strangers. Very strange, very strange. Okay, enough about that. Enough about that. Hello. Today is I am fuck. Hold on. Let me try again. Hi, I'm Karathufanor. I'm the last philosopher VTuber, the last librarian of Alexandria, and so far I have not at all lived up to the first part of that sequence. Not the name Karathufanor. That one I've lived up to very well. Although I suppose it might actually be helpful for me to you know what? There's a reason for me to maybe to introduce myself at the beginning of every stream, because that way people will know how to pronounce my name. But I've not been living up to being the philosopher VTuber very much recently. Like, I took a look at my channel, I took a look at everything, and I thought, yeah, okay, this is the philosopher VTuber. This guy claims to be the philosopher VTuber, but like, what is he doing that's like philosophically somewhat interesting, right? So I took a look at the channel, started scrolling. I see like, oh, this is the philosopher VTuber does this. Philosopher VTuber does this. This is where philosophers go in like the Limbo stream. And then like, I didn't even play Limbo. I was like, Major does a job. Yeah, okay. Well, when's this guy gonna do some actual philosophy? Well, it's sort of a trick. It's sort of a trick question, sort of a loaded question. The actual answer is like, I'm not qualified at all to be doing any philosophy, really, anything that's too interesting. But nonetheless, I have not actually at all even talked about it very much. There's not something I've delved into, and I do mean philosophically, not just sort of this. I don't want to say generic, but this sagely wisdom that sort of just happens to be part of me whenever I look at something and I think about something. He knows his name. I just don't. Okay, I don't. I keep forgetting because I open the stream, I see like the same. I see the same handful of names. Like, it's like 3 viewers, right? I see the same 3 names, and I go, well, I don't have to tell you who I am. You know who I am, and you're know enough to comment and say things that I generally am a little disapprove. That I disapprove a little bit, but not enough to ban you. So. I think, well, I don't have to. Why would I have to tell you who I am? And then I remember, no, some people just don't say anything. They just watch streams, and that's what I do. So I'm Karathufanor. I'm the first and last philosopher VTuber. I'm the last librarian of Alexandria, and today I'm actually going to show my chops as a philosopher VTuber. Is what I would say if I had any, but I don't. Here's what I mean. Originally, I suppose we can. Okay, hold on. This is a discussion stream. I'm gonna alternate between the reading screen and the this screen. And when I'm here, I'm going to hold on. Where is it? Original. This. There we go. Look, it's as scuffed as it gets, but it doesn't matter. Okay. It's a good half dozen of us. Not really 3, I guess. Yeah, I say 3 because I'm just used to saying. I think, I say 3 because like that's like the upper limit for the amount of people I'm talking to at the same that I would be talking to at the same time, given any circumstance. Maybe not 3. Okay, the upper limit is probably like 4 or like 5. But at that point, I'm already losing people. I'm not really focusing on like 1 or 2 of them. I'm really just talking to 3, and then there's like 2 more people just sitting there observing. I'm not really talking to them. That's why when I say that it's like the same 3 people, that's what I mean. So I can't really comment on like any number bigger than 5 is not real to me. You can imagine my shock when we're currently half a year in and I'm at like 450 subscribers. Honestly, very nice. Something else I've noticed is I'm not, for the amount of like followers, I guess would be the Twitch word, but subscribers here, like it seems as though my audience is very much engaged, much more so than people with like other people of my size and of larger followings. So, which is to say that I don't have a lot of dead followers or dead subscribers. I don't have like anyone who's here wants to be here, like actually really wants to be here. And I think that's good. Should be a prime retirement age. 60 is pretty close to prime retirement age. It's true. It's true. The 7th anniversary, can you retire to focus streaming full time? I'm gonna retire and then go back to the job I'm retiring from? That's strange. Can I focus on streaming full time? Is not a question for me. Because for me, it's like, yeah, I could. But like, would it be a feasible financial option? Probably not. Statistically, very few people can stream and have it be financially sustainable to be able to do it full time, and I just don't think that's me, at least for the near future. Not mad, just disappointed. I'm not usually mad at people. I don't know if I'm disappointed either. Oftentimes I'm just like I'm cautiously hopeful. I'm cautiously like, you can do better. Come on, let's do it. I mean, things are kind of cringe sometimes. I think you guys are kind of cringe all the time. Yes, a vtuber is no right. While that is true, it takes one to know one. That's all I'll say. Can you use Comic Sans of Ariel for 2nd anniversary? I could do it like now, but I think Ariel's fine. If any number bigger than 5 isn't real to you, what do you do in gatherings of friends larger than 5 people? I don't do gatherings of friends larger than 5 people a lot, if ever. If it's a friend gathering, the max amount is just 5. That's it. Any more than that, I'm overwhelmed. I can't. Like, at least not as like a, like, it's at that point it's not an intimate gathering anymore. It's like a community event, and then when it's a community event, I'm zoned the fuck out. I'm not there. I'm in a corner. I go to the bathroom a lot more than usual just to like be able to breathe in silence and not have to talk to anyone. That's what happens when it's more than 5. 5 is the upper limit. And even that's gets a little crazy, you know? 5 is a little crazy. Why 5? No reason. It's either 4 or 5. It's one of those numbers. But anything more than that is like, I cannot focus on so many people. Because when I'm hanging out with people, I need to put my full attention on you. Like, and I need to just see exactly what's going on with you. If you're uncomfortable in any way. I hope that's like not weird. I hope this is like a... Do I talk about traumatic, sad events that help us bond together? Do I instead go for the lighthearted banter, complaining rants of the person across the street that did something stupid? Like, I have to feel all of that out, and you do that by like really engaging with people, and that's like what I do. And 5 is the number because 4 or 5 really, because any more than that I cannot handle. I cannot analyze that many people at the same time, or at least get a rough idea of, you know, where they are at. There's a vid about some schizo talking about how barely anyone will make it. That could be anyone. There's so many videos of people talking about how most people don't make it, and that's just true. Like, that's just it's a statistical truth. you think you'll have a bigger audience if you're on Twitch? I think I'll have, yes, if I'm also streaming on Twitch, like if I'm doing both, like simulcasting, which my computer can't handle yet, but maybe at some point in the future I will be able to do that. If I jump over to Twitch, I don't know. I think yes. I think numerically I'd do a little better, but then it wouldn't be the same thing. It wouldn't be the same style of things I'd be doing. Numbers aren't real anyways, which is part of what we're going to talk about today, which I completely forgot. I've just been totally derailed by you laws. Pirates would be funny. It would, but it's like a little difficult to read for some people. I don't know. 5 is the number of the goddess. I don't know what that is. Is that? I mean, 5 is just like a decent number to me. 4 or 5. If I had to come up with a favorite number, it would either be 4 or 5. I'm not sure which one though. That's like my favorite number. I brew in the corner of the house parties, waiting for a curious individual walking through the web. Only if I don't usually go to house parties, but if I do, then yeah. Thankfully, doesn't take too long. And the moment I start going on about something, the moment I'm not quiet, there's immediately like more like attention directed towards me for some reason. I think I just sound funny to people. Like I don't mean funny as in humorous. I found it funny as in like, this is a strange person. What's this guy on about? Whenever I open my mouth, and so when when it's shut, I'm very quiet. Like I don't make, when I'm walking around, I don't make much noise. I don't announce my presence. I don't, like, you know, breathe. I don't mouth breathe. I don't breathe heavily. In fact, I've been told that it's like creepy that I can be so quiet. Like I will just walk up to someone and then they will freak out. I've been told that that's a very strange, like, I've been told it's a little unsettling, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll announce my presence sometimes. He's naked dissing people in Athens with an oil lamp. That's me on this channel. That's not me in real life. That's me on this channel. We went to a gathering of friends that was like 10 people, not including us. Too much. You couldn't see it, but I was raising both my hands in like panic and surrender. I'm like, this is too many people. The current number of concurrent viewers on this live stream is too many people for me, man. Like, that's too many people. That's too many. I think I'm wall scrolling and at random as to avoid social interactions. No, I try not to do that. I try to not be on my phone, because when you're on your phone, there's a sort of, to me, it's a bit similar to having headphones in, where it's like you're communicating to people, you're non-verbally communicating to people that you don't want to like engage in any conversation, right? But the thing is, like, I'm not trying to not be in a conversation. I'm just like, I'm trying to have, I would like it to happen, but I don't want to be the one trying to strike. I don't want to be the one trying to strike, you know, like, it's not gonna work. With the number of 5 applies to the number of active chatters in stream 2, would you be overwhelmed to get big enough? Hundreds of thousands of people asking. Yes and no. The more people there are, the less detailed the comments will be. That's something I've observed. The more people there are, the less detailed the comments will be. And because of that, it's easier to see them and answer them. There's also less of a desire people have to like have every comment individually recognized. And so that's okay as well. So that's like the no part. The yes part is like, right now I'm already kind of overwhelmed. Which is like a good thing, I think. It's a good problem to have. They don't know I'm a slightly funny VTuber. I swear if anyone in real life knew I was a VTuber, it would be over. It really would. It actually would be over if people found out. Goodness. Some people do. They're the... There's like some people in these streams and maybe in chat that know me in real life. I'm not gonna say how many. I'm not gonna say who they are, obviously, fucking obviously, but occasionally the people I know do watch my streams. You sound funny, but I want to put this PNG in a Tupperware container and put him on my shelf and look at him. I had like a monologue. I did a monologue many years ago about Tupperwares, and like every time I see the word Tupperware, that monologue comes to mind. It's a monologue about children and Cheerios. Did that, and it wasn't very good, but it was okay. It was just a rant. Like, I was a waiter and I was complaining about how children would walk into this restaurant, they would bring fucking Cheerios, and I would be pissed off. And it was like one of the few times I was allowed to swear in that environment, so I was like, this is quite liberating. I love theater. I love the theater. It's great. Are you an introvert? Yeah. If you couldn't tell. Very much so, but I can talk. Is the stream pre-recorded? Yeah. It is pre-recorded, but I am so good at what I do that I can like predict what chat will say and then respond to it accordingly. Passage of time is irreversible. It is. So I forgot. I have to be talking about. I have to be mindful of the time I spend not talking about time, because it's the whole point of today's. There's the whole point of today's live stream. Okay. Okay. I see. Okay, Soggy. I see you deleted the message. I don't know if you did not intend for it to be there, but it's like it's still gonna be on the chat room chat. So apologies if you wanted it gone forever. That's good as #1 fan. No one's my #1 fan, because that's not real. You're not like a fan of me. You tune into a live stream and you watch someone talk to a camera about, and really just in an unfiltered, unrefined way. Not even very eloquently, not even well in articulation. Amazing intuition. Can't believe you predicted that too. Indeed. Okay. So, I knew that was gonna. The moment those words left my mouth, I was like, that sounded like something I didn't want to say. Favorite soapbox speaker at the plaza? That's more like it. That's more like it. I'm a soapbox speaker at the plaza. That's who I am. And my voice isn't very loud, and I don't have a microphone, so I'm just like, I'm on a box, but I'm in my own corner, and some people have, like, a small amount of people have gathered, and there's a lot of noise, like in the other parts of the plaza. So I picked a quieter corner, but then it's like, well, the whole point of being in a plaza is you want to go out and be louder so people will hear you. And it's clear that this VTuber missed the memo and decided to go into a little quiet corner instead and just sort of speak in a sort of not speak without projection. That's the word. I'm losing my words today. Today is time day. Today is the end of the year. Today is almost the end of the year, correcting myself. Today is the 30th of December, depending on where you live, of course. But generally speaking, it's either 30th or it just was 31st. Shouldn't be too far into the 31st, which means we're basically in the last day, the last stretch of the year. Now, what does that mean? Right? Does that mean, oh, there's, you know, it's the end of something and it's the beginning of a new one? It is a special temporal location that we are all existing and experiencing in simultaneously, but not at the exact same time, slightly differently, but we're all going through the new year. Is that the case? Philosophy, like some philosophies, philosophers, some people who engage in some lengths of philosophy like to say, and like to be pedantic, and they like to say, actually no, time isn't real. And so for this stream, excuse me, pardon me, originally the plan was to talk about Meno's paradox. So here was the original plan. All right, now I'm actually doing the original plan 5 minutes after I put up the original plan text, which would signal that I would be doing the original plan. And the original idea was I was going to talk about Meno's paradoxes. I was going to talk about Meno's paradoxes, especially the one with the tortoise or the turtle. I think it was the tortoise. It was what's the guy that's name starts with A? That's not Aristotle. It's the other one. The other Greek guy that starts with A. Achilles and the tortoise. And Archimedes is another guy, but I was thinking Achilles. So it was Achilles and the tortoise. I was going to talk about that problem. I was going to explain that problem in detail. I was going to explain Meno's paradoxes, and I was going to come to this conclusion that's supposed to say, okay, since time and like any unit of thing is infinitely divisible, we can extrapolate this problem into one that's maybe perhaps contemporarily relevant now. One in which I couldn't quite find much people talking about, so maybe I could be dead wrong, or maybe this is something new. And which is the case that, well, if we can divide time infinitely, mayhaps we will never arrive at 2025. And then I thought, wait, no, that's not how the paradox works. That's confusing. So originally the title was going to be like, we will never get to 2025, and it would have been like a funny like introduction to Meno's paradox. So I was like, I'm fucking up the core component of the problem I'm trying to explain. Like, that's no good. Scratch that. That's what I did. I scratched it, took that off the list. But nonetheless, I thought, oh, I want to talk about Meno's paradoxes in the first place. And then when it came to sort of infinite slices of time, I then remembered, oh right, I could talk about something close enough. I could talk about super tasks. A super task is an infinite amount of tasks done in a finite amount of time. Vsauce has a great video on this, and I was actually going to watch the Vsauce video on the stream as well, because I was like, I'm sure Michael wouldn't mind. I don't think he would copyright strike me if I watched it and I just like explained it, or maybe I didn't explain it, but I just like sort of tried to connect it. So then I thought about doing that, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to explain super tasks, I should explain infinities. And then I watched the number, and then I was thinking, oh, maybe I should try to present the number file video on infinity and on Achilles and the tortoise. And then I was watching the video again, because I remember watching it years ago. So I was rewatching it, preparing to explain it, right? And then first half of the video, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. Okay, I can explain this. Second half, no goddamn clue where they go anymore. It's far away. I'm like, oh shit, I guess I've lost my touch. I guess old age has caught up to me. I don't even remember what this is about anymore. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just explain time theories, different theories of time, different things about time, and it can be the philosophies of time stream. Time stream, was what I was going to do. And I was going to do this in reference to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which is just this online resource that's like written by people who are, I wouldn't say the best ever in the world, but they're pretty high up there in terms of authority figures on what they write about, the encyclopedic entries. So I was going to do a presentation based on entries of the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. And then I started reading through that and thought, well, actually, I already did a recent stream. Not recent, but it was like a month or a month and a half ago. My last the stream where I really did sit down and explain philosophy was for Plato, and it was for the Apology. So I thought, why don't I write Parmenides? Why don't I write on Parmenides where Meno's paradoxes get introduced? And then I was thinking, or not right, why don't I present on Parmenides? Was it Parmenides? Shit. Shit. Is it Mino or Meno? I don't remember. Let me look this up right now. Anyways, the point is, sorry. Anyways, the point is, then I thought, oh yeah, I might as well present on Mino's paradoxes, which I think was either in Mino or in Parmenides. I don't remember, one of the texts. And then I thought, wait a minute, I don't know how to explain all of this. And also, if I'm to explain the text, I might as well make it a reading stream. And if I'm going to do a reading stream, I need to find a copy that has some citations that can help me guide me through my explanation of it. All this to say, I spent a lot of time thinking about how I would present on time. Ultimately, I knew I wanted to talk about something. I wanted to talk about something time related for today, right? Because today marks a somewhat interesting time in I wouldn't say human history, but maybe contemporary history, time stream moments, you know? The end of a year and the beginning of another is always something that people think about, right? When it comes to like a year. We group things by year. This is the end of one category and group and the beginning of another very soon. How come? I'm not going through any fundamental shift or change. There's no tectonic, you know, difference in Karasufanor. It's not 1 year of me. It's just 1 year of the year of years. 1 year of the Earth. And then it reminded me of is it a German clip or is it like a clip of someone else for saying, I think it was German, him going like, time isn't real. We made that up. And he sounded insane when he was saying it, which doesn't narrow it down a lot. Oh, it does not. When do you think the next modern world will arrive? I think the next modern world arrives during... I think we're in a transition phase right now. I think we're getting really, really close to the next modern world. Wasn't he high when saying that? I don't know. I don't know what was going on with him. I just know that he said that with such conviction, and he sounded particularly like he lost his marbles. It was interesting. I think the next modern world arrives, like, I think the moment I will mark a shift and arrival is when, to me, this is my opinion, my answer, when there is a mass acceptance, or maybe a reluctant acceptance, or at least a widespread usage of technologies that are all-encompassing and also kind of invasive, i.e., the next modern world happens when everyone who goes to a white-collar job, it's a white-collar or blue-collar, I mix up the colors a lot because I don't know anything, it's one of the collars, you know, like when you show up to an office and you go to a cubicle, that's what I mean, right? What the new modern world, the next modern world will look like is, instead of doing that, you are assigned like a headset. It is just cheaper for the company and more efficient for them to not put you in a cubicle, but for you to stay at home or stay wherever and to put on like a headset, and the headset monitors everything you're doing and seeing, like your eyeballs are being tracked, like where you're going, and full control over where you're looking at, and like ads are unskippable because they could tell whether you're blinking or whether you're closing your eyes. Your boss can tell when you're not being productive. I'm thinking like, should I continue? But I've been on this rant before, so I'll talk about it. I don't care. When your boss can tell when you're not productive, so like in order to be productive, you need to actually be on your work, and like every facet of your human being is being monitored. Full panopticon, exactly like a full panopticon. I think that's the next biggest leap. That is not only a technological leap, it's also a sort of socioeconomic one. it's a deeply personal leap as well in human history, I would imagine. I think there's a huge depersonalization that will come with that. And above all else, I think eventually it will happen. I don't think it's pessimistic to assume that it will happen. If I were to be pessimistic, I would say this will happen and it will be it forever. You know, it's going to destroy us and there's no going back, right? That would be me being pessimistic. I think it will happen for sure, but I think we can overcome it when that happens. I think there is a sort of overcoming that can take place. I think that's when the next modern world arrives. And when I say next modern world, like, I mean, that's what I mean, because it is a huge tectonic shift in everything in the way life is lived by humans, marked by technological improvement, and most likely going to happen because I can imagine very tangible economic benefits that this would achieve. That was a long, sorry, like that was a long thing. Did anyone else say anything? Good evening. Hello. Good evening, sexy man. Welcome to the stream. I greeted one person out of like so many people that commented. Yeah, you can have that, I guess. I'm not gonna start greeting everyone. Okay, that's not what I'm doing. Time is the narrative we made for understanding the entropy of our system. That is very close to what I think. That is very close. That is sort of close to what I think. Time as we discuss it and know it, that's the case. Anyway, sorry. That is the next modern world, but the point was, I spent a lot of time thinking about how to talk about time, and I couldn't think about a good way to talk about time that I would be good enough to, like, I'd be qualified enough to. And so this is more just an overview slash discussion slash a thinking about time, if you will. I'm jogging my memory, if that makes sense, because, you know, I've forgotten this shit. I'm 60 years old. Give me a break. To begin with, I want to talk about the perception of time. Briefly, I don't really want to talk about it. I guess maybe like just something, this is like a checkpoint, by the way. Like, I think a year from now I'll be doing the same stream and I'll be talking about the same topics, but I'll expand on the topics I talk about. That's the idea of this stream. That's the idea of the time stream at the end of the year. Okay, first thing I think I'll probably talk about is the perception of time. I think it's the most, there's the most primacy and urgency to our perception of time, not just, you know, time itself, whatever that means. And where do I begin? You perceive time passing. Tick-tock goes the clock. Every 60 seconds, a minute passes. Every 60 minutes, an hour passes. Every 24 hours, a day passes. Every roughly 30 days or so, roughly give or take, a month passes, and roughly by then every 12 months a year passes. We're currently at the year mark. Every 10 years a decade passes. We're currently going into maybe the beginning of half a decade of hold on, 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Yeah. So we're about to go into like the second half of this decade, if that matters. It's half a decade, not like the next decade, but it's like, you know, the second half of this decade. Every 100 years or every 10 decades is a century, and then every 1,000 years is it every 10 centuries is a millennia? I forget. How long is a millennia? Millennium's 1,000 years. Yeah. Millennia is the plural form. Millennium is the singular form. So yes. Millennium, single. Every 10 centuries is millennium. every millennium, we do something. I don't know what happened from 1990. What happened from 99 to 2000s? I forget. It's been a while. I don't remember exactly what happened then, but you know, it happened. I was definitely alive for that. I'm 60 years old, so I was definitely alive for that. But I don't remember exactly what happened. Y2K happened, IDK. Something to the sort. I do think it's quite close. I do think it's quite interesting that the digital age came shortly after the year 2000. Or rather, like, it was building up to it as well. Which is just quite convenient, isn't it? That, like, oh shit, like everything as we know it really changed from like the 2000s. And now it's like only increasing to, yeah. Well, the Soviet Union, some music dropped. Something happened. I'm gonna be on my boomer shit talking about surviving the 20s. Me too. If I were still alive in the future to tell it. I already am doing that now. I really am. Knew someone who didn't have a dog but tested it by saying they had a dog, had to buy food for them, and was bombarded with ads for dog products. That shit is scary and it's real. I didn't even talk about something. I just like was messaged some things in like a DM, and then like we were talking about a product, and then I wasn't talking about buying a product. I was talking about the product itself in a different context of a discussion. And then the next day, or like in a few days, I saw like advertising for that product, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is it. No, thank you. We are in that modern world. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's inevitable and we're shaping up to that modern world. But yes. Light out to the same when they tried the invention of the printing press 1800. That was a huge drop. That was a huge drop. We're lucky if you get asked if you want web cookies or not. Yeah, some countries, some parts of the world have strict laws that require and demand websites to do that. I believe the best way to protect your privacy is to use Firefox, and you install several plugins, including uBlock Origin, among other things. There's a whole guide to it on the piracy subreddit, which I frequent quite frequently. I enjoy being in the... I don't even torrent anything. A VPN, yeah, of course. Using a VPN as well, though you have to make sure you're using the right ones. And honestly, it's not even that, like, it's better than nothing. But VPN companies do sell... Some VPN companies do sell data, or at least, like, you know, they're not entirely secure. So anyways, point being, sorry, it's been 50 minutes. I haven't even gotten to anything yet. The perception of time is strange. Something I really wanted to not talk about necessarily, because I just do not, like, I had a bad, okay, just to warn everyone, right? I cannot speak on too much today because I had a bad night of sleep. Like, I just couldn't sleep. I won't tell you why. Actually, I was gonna tell you why, but no, I won't tell you why. But I just couldn't sleep very well. And so now I'm extremely exhausted. I'm not necessarily EP, I'm just exhausted. And I feel like I don't have too much energy. But nonetheless, I'm alive and awake and here for this, so I'm going to try to be as here for this as possible. Take a power nap on stream. I don't think it'd be very interesting. VPNs are best homemade and really only benefit you if you want to avoid geolocks. Yes, that's true completely. It's, if you're a degenerate like me, there are some gotchas. You might have experience using VPNs to avoid geolocks, like wanting to play a gacha that is not in your region. If you're a fucking degenerate, that might be something you're familiar with. But anyways, do it help? Yeah, I don't really drink. I don't really consume much caffeine in my life. I'm not averse to it. I just don't usually. But it would be helpful. But I think I can do the stream fine. But anyways, our perception of time is interesting. There is the only thing I want to bring up for this section is two things. Long, the whole long, short, long, short. Like there's a box. Let me see if I can pull this up. Time. Perception. Michael V. Sauce Stevens talked about this. I should have done better preparation. Should have done my homework. I didn't. I'm sorry. You can treat this as a just chatting stream instead. There's a video from 4 years ago. Your JP iTunes account for it. Some require you to use that and also a VPN. I guess I'll say it now. Oh, terrible time to be mentioning this on the stream where I'm trying to be very serious. No, I'm not gonna. I'll talk about it next week. We'll talk about it next week. It's such a stupid thing. I'm not fucking talking about that here. But there's a Vsauce video from 4 years ago where he talks about time. Time. Which one is it? Is it Illusions of Time or is it Future of Reasoning? I think it's Illusions of Time.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. When something becomes part of the past, can it ever truly be experienced again? Obviously, my beard will grow back, but it won't be the same
fantastic
beard.
Video. What a fantastic video. So there's nothing I can talk about that Vsauce hasn't talked about like in a better way. But the point was I wanted to talk about how I wanted to briefly mention this short, long, short time type concept. And for I should have prepared the diagram for this. Unfortunately, I didn't. But essentially, here's how I can summarize it in a way that's terribly unhelpful, but maybe you'll get it. Which is essentially that our perceptions of time in the moment of doing an activity versus in hindsight can be different based on the activity we do. For example, if you are on vacation, going somewhere, you know, you perceive that time when you spend on the vacation as like, you know, long when you're in that vacation. Hopefully you should feel like it's long, you know. You're lying down maybe at a nice beach and you're looking out into the ocean and you think to yourself, I've got all day, I've got so much free time to do whatever I want. I can just relax. I can do anything. I could be doing anything. Actually, hold on. Let me just. Okay. I'm gonna switch to this because it's like I think the other one is a bit more. The other BGM is a bit more casual and chill, and I want to be like a little more serious for the discussions in this stream. You play Idolmaster? No, I don't. I don't play Idolmaster. I'm sorry. Time. So when you're on holiday and you're looking out and you're on a beach, time to you at that point is quite long. When you look back, however, you know, after you're out of your holiday, and you're back at the office or you're back at school or whatever, you think to yourself, that could have been much longer. That was way too short. Man, I miss it. Bring me back to those, bring me back to the beach, you know, bring me back to this relaxation, this resort, whatever it is your trip was for. And so there's like a long short there, right? It feels long in the moment, but then in hindsight it's quite short. It could be long as well. Maybe like you could I don't know what the long example is. A long example I would say is maybe if you spent a lot of time doing something that was really exhausting and maybe quite repetitive. Say you were say you were practicing an instrument. When you're practicing in the moment, it feels maybe not if you're really good. That's a bad example. Anyways, the point is, like, you know, when you're at the moment, it feels long, and when you're looking back, it could also feel long. But either of those things can be long and short. And the point I wanted to bring up with this in perception of time is a much more prevalent example I wanted to bring up that I think is much more relevant to all the people here in this stream right now. Okay, I think this will be a bit more relevant to you. Doesn't time feel much shorter in hindsight when you are scrolling through a TikTok or an Instagram reel or Twitter or Reddit or Facebook if you're like 60 years old like me? I don't, but you know, if you're my age, or whatever the kids use. I don't know what the kids use. You're on YouTube, something of the sort. Maybe not YouTube, but specifically, you know, short form content. When you're in the moment, you're scrolling, you see the little thing pulling up. Yes, I'm berating you all for doom scrolling. It's a trap, yes. Idle distractions make time go faster. They do. And in the moment, you're so absorbed in whatever it is you were doing, it feels short. You know, it feels like, oh, I was just scrolling through, and then 4 hours flew by. Well, that's crazy. That's a long time perception, where in the moment you felt as though it was very short. But then afterwards, in hindsight, it felt quite long, because it's like, oh shit, I lost 4 hours. What did I do? I don't know. I just scrolled some TikToks and I laughed and I liked it. Nice. Say maybe sent a few of them to my friends. That'll get them to get a little chuckle. And then when they like it back, it'll reaffirm that our humor is still aligned and I'm validated a little bit as a person, right? Like that's what people do. That's what you do, probably. It's probably what you do. It's probably to some extent like what I just described is somewhat similar to what you do. It's similar to what people do in general. It's also something I do. Not a lot. I try not to, of course. I try to be very mindful, but you know, sometimes I slip into it as well. It happens. That's why I can talk about it, right? It's because it happens to me. Something that can be long might be, for example, if you have a very eventful thing where maybe you go on there's a specific, maybe a summer camp or a life-changing, like it's not just you relaxing at a beach, but like a trip or an important thing happened, or maybe, you know, you something there was significant to make you remember it every day and every moment of that specific period of time, where in the moment it feels long because you can remember all these things that happen, and in hindsight you also remember it feels long. I might have messed up like half of the examples I just raised. I'm sorry. Vsauce did a better job explaining it than I did. Who would have thought? Anyways, the point of me bringing it up, because like I'm just bringing it up. It's only 10 p.m. Watch a few TikToks for bed and suddenly it's now 4. Yeah, I feel that. I do feel that. Could cooking be a long? Cooking feels like... good question. Cooking feels like a short to me. And again, this is tied to your perception of the activity you're doing. It's not to say that this is a unifying experience that everyone has. It's just that this is probably something that you might be able to relate to, and of course the subjectivity of how much you enjoy it will depend. You know, if you're handing, like, you know, an old person a TikTok and you give them 2 reels, it's not going to feel very long to them. Sorry, it's not going to feel very short to them. It's going to feel very long because there's a lot of things that are fresh and new, and they're like, what's going on? Why are they dancing? Is this music copyrighted? They're not going to ask that. I would ask that, but they wouldn't ask if that music was copyrighted. Anyways, point is, perception of time is the first thing I want to talk about. One, for this, because I think it's a really interesting concept to always think about. When you think about time, this is always something to think about, is how we perceive it. Second thing, though, in relation to perception, dreams. Yes. It's a little different. And I can't quite elaborate on this yet. I think I will plan to in the future, but for now I can't quite... I'm not quite able to do it. I dream. I don't like it when it happens. And I'm sure you do too, to some extent. Most of you, at least. When you dream, you think of... You don't think... It's not... Dreaming isn't like, oh, I went to sleep and then a movie played. Well, for most people it's not, right? A movie played and then I woke up, right? It's like more... It's similar. It's kind of similar to a movie playing. But then there are points where it's like... How do I say it? Time is less, what's the word? Congruent? Is congruent the word? Let's say. Yeah, it's less congruent. It's less fixed. Sometimes there's a lot of time that passes by really quickly. Sometimes there's a lot of time that passes really slowly. An example of this, of what I mean, is actually something that happened to me this morning. When I went to sleep quite late, very late, in fact, arguably early, which is how late it was. Early in the day is what I mean, like, is how late I went to sleep. And I woke up a few hours after that. I didn't have a lot of sleep. I only had like 3 hours of sleep. I had one dream. The dream is kind of embarrassing, so I'm not going to talk about it, I think. It was one of those, like, it was one of those dreams. It was one of those dreams you have when you're like... When you spend Christmas alone. That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. No. Okay. No. Okay, I will tell you what it is. I will tell you what the dream is, but because I'll only tell you though because I can explain it. I think I can explain it. Okay. When so last night I was last night I was watching ASMR streams and like videos and stuff. And I was watching them, I swear to God, and I don't like, I have no reason to lie about this. I think you know, I'm a VTuber, right? Like this is not something like I'm already this far in. I'm already presenting myself with a VTuber model. It doesn't get worse than that. So I was watching an ASMR stream to do research. I have no reason to lie about this. If I wasn't watching it to do research, or like listening to it, whatever, I don't know what the word is. Like I'm consuming ASMR. I don't know. I'm researching it because that's what I'm doing, right? President. No, that's not the. I wasn't dreaming of Leon Kennedy. That's not what I was dreaming about. Anyways, I was watching a bunch of ASMR videos and streams, because I was trying to research. Okay, that's what I was doing. Why am I researching it? You have no reason to know. You have no reason to know. You don't need to know. Doesn't matter. Okay, that's beyond you. It's none of your business. But I was researching. It was for science. Yes, exactly. And I don't usually partake in ASMR because it's just not really my thing. And I still think it's not really my thing either. I didn't get the tingles or whatever. I'm still figuring that out. I don't quite get how that works. I'm trying to get that. But I'm not getting it yet. Anyways, I was watching an ASMR video and then or listening to them, I don't know. And I was like, trying to figure out, trying to research it, you know. I was trying to figure out what it was. How does it tick? How does it work exactly? Which parts of the dark web did you enter into for research? I just like looked it up on YouTube. That's what I did. I just looked up things on YouTube, right? Whatever. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I'll talk about it again in February. Fuck, what was I'm lost my train of thought. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, okay, so no, I was watching ASMR videos, and I went to sleep, and then in the dream, it was like a scenario. Okay, it's like a little embarrassing, but I'm describing it to you because I'm way too sleep deprived to think of any other example than the thing that just happened to me. And so I just have to tell you the thing that just happened to me, right? Like, I don't like that I have to do that, but I do because I think it proves a point, or rather it's like, it's relevant to the discussion I'm trying to have this, which is a bit more broad in scope and a bit more serious. And one of the ASMRs I was listening to, because I was listening to a few that I cycled through. One of them was like, it had like the vibe, and I think that the accompanying visual was like a person. It was a woman, because like a lot of ASMR is dominated by a lot of ASMR that has to do with someone's voice is usually like someone who's femme presenting. You know, it's usually a feminine voice, which I think is quite interesting as well. There's not a lot of masculine voice ASMRs. There's a few I found, but they're not as popular. So that's interesting for me to bear in mind, right? But anyways, and like it was like an illustration of like a VTuber or something. I think it was a VTuber. I believe it was a VTuber. It wasn't one I really watched, but they were like lying down in like a bed, like on like a pillow. It was like a whispery ASMR. You know, I listened to it and I was like, it made me a little uncomfortable, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I listened to it and I was like, I don't know if this is it. I went to sleep. Okay, I went to sleep. I didn't go to sleep listening to it. I listened to it like during the evening, and then I did other things. I played a game of Marvel Rivals. And then I went to bed. And I slept. And then I slept and I dreamt being in a scenario where there was a woman next to me on like a bed, and I was like, I was freaking out. Like, when I woke up, I was freaking out. You have no idea. I was like, this is horrifying. Like, get me out of here. I need to return to the real world now. Anyways, I don't think anyone's ever really had that and was scared, but I was. Like, I think most people, when they have a dream like that, they're like, oh, that was a nice dream. Oh, this was like, it was a sort of an illusion of companionship that to help me through the night or whatever. Not me. No, that is horrifying because it's not real. Like, my head was playing tricks on me while I was trying to sleep. And as a result, the quality of my sleep was a lot less. Don't like it. I'm a bit terrified of my concept of laying in bed. No, I'm terrified by my brain. Like, I'm terrified of my own mind betraying me. This is my own mind playing tricks. My own mind is not presenting the world as it usually is. And in fact, you know, portraying some sort of like, I don't know what this is. Anyways, like a sort of reflection on what was, because what goes on when you're sleeping is like your short-term memory goes into like long-term memory. And I think maybe that was the process that my brain was going through. My brain was taking the short-term memory of like, oh, I'm like intensely trying to research this stuff, and so my brain was like, okay, let's jam it into your consciousness, and then I was being jammed in my consciousness. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. No, I don't even like those either. I don't like any dreams. If it's a good, okay, if it's like a good dream, it's usually because it's like very far from the truth. You know, usually if the dream is something that's like a nice thing happening to me, it's usually because it's not real. And if there's a bad thing happening to me, there's a bad thing happening to me. I don't want either of those things. Therefore, I don't want any dreams. No, thank you. Is it a reference to a song? It is a reference to The Sound of Silence. That's right. I find it kind of funny, find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. That's how the song goes, yes. Wait, no. It's Mad World, sorry. I messed it up. I think is it Mad World? Dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've had. Okay, yeah, okay. It's Mad World, it's Mad World. I had to sing like the rest of the song, like it's Mad World, it's Mad World. I was mistaken. I was sorely mistaken. My apologies. I cannot walk into a stream where I'm supposed to be talking about something with a very minimal amount of authority and then immediately throwing that very minimal amount of authority out the window by being wrong about everything I talk about. Anyways, point being, I didn't even get to the point yet. Anyways, the point was, I couldn't even get to the point yet. The point, excuse me. The point was that when I was dreaming, my phone was there and it was ringing. It was like buzzing, right? And I remember the sequence in the dream when the phone buzzed for the first like 2-3 times, the first like few buzzes, and then I'm in the dream. I was like, in the dream I was apologetic. I was like, oh, sorry, I'll put that away. That was rude of me, right? Like I shouldn't. Even in the dream, I was like, and even when this was fake as hell, I was like, no, I can't be disrespectful and rude when people are around. I should be putting my phone away. So I'm sorry that my phone was buzzing and that was like, distracting. My apologies, right? And then in the dream, like I said that, and then like I put the phone away, or like in the dream I put the phone away. I thought I did, maybe I like pushed the button to like silence it or whatever. And then shortly after that, and I do mean shortly, I think there was like a brief exchange of dialogue between me and the mysterious woman with like that was like lying next to me in my nightmare, freaking me out. And like I forgot what I said, I forgot what this person said, but I said something. And then my phone rang again. My phone started buzzing again. I was like, oh goodness, I really should be. I'm like terribly sorry. I'm gonna have to leave. And then that woke me up. The second round of ringing woke me up, and that was my phone. That was actually like my phone ringing in real life. That was bringing me back to reality, right? And the thing is, in the dream, to me, it felt like those two sequences of buzzing were probably 20 seconds apart. But when I woke up and checked my phone, they were 2 hours apart because I could see like the notifications and when they happened. So in the dream, it was 20 seconds that passed, but then in reality, it was like 2 hours, and that freaked me out this morning. Like so, and I thought I want to talk about it today, but I don't know if I want to talk about the whole dream because it's embarrassing and I don't know how to explain it. And now here I am. I've decided to just tell you what it is. I've decided to just tell you the whole thing. Whatever. You don't know. Whatever. You don't know me. You can't make fun of me beyond the confines of this channel. And when I'm on this channel, I'm expecting to be made fun of, so it's okay. Anyways, as it happens to be. The perception of time is very strange. The perception of time is very, very strange. What felt like 20 seconds was 2 hours. I can't explain it. I really cannot. On the topic of dreams, do y'all believe in shifting? Is shifting the thing? Is shifting the thing where you? What was it like? It's like, what are you? You're astral projecting into Harry Potter or something? Like you are now Hermione, or I was gonna say Ron. I don't think anyone wants to be Ron. Like you're Harry. Like, is that what shifting is? I don't know what shifting is, but I believe that's like what that is. It's like, is it just the Gen Z way of saying using your imagination? Like, is that just the new buzzword for imagining a scenario? If so, we have words for that, and one of them, the one I like to use a lot, is the phrase I like to use for that is imagining a scenario. Or, you know, maladaptive daydreaming. Sure, you can go with that, you know. Daydreaming instead. Suffer from the inverse, dream being a really specific setting like dark rooms and break rooms, and it caused me to have a mini panic attack. I've had that too, where it's like specific places, but usually it's more abstract, my dreams. Remember being at a friend's house in a dream, then got robbed and shot at, but ragdolled to fake it hitting and didn't move until I knew I could get away. I had a dream like that as well. I don't think it was being shot at. I think it was like a ghost. There was a ghost, and it was like a murder ghost, and then it was like stabbing people, and then like I pretended to ragdoll to not get hit, and then I woke up. It's not a good dream, but I do remember I had a similar dream to that. I'm gonna invent a time machine to bring Charon back to a time where he didn't see this episode. It's too late, and it's all your fault. Maybe not your fault, right? But your guy's fault, because I keep getting asked to do ASMR, to do an ASMR stream, and then I keep like, and people keep mentioning like how it's basically just my reading streams. I'm like, what do you mean my reading streams are ASMR streams? My reading streams are reading streams. I read. That's what I do in my reading streams. What does it mean to be an ASMR stream as well? And then I had to like, so that prompted me to research into like, what the hell is that? Because it's like, surely if someone described you with a term you didn't understand, you would go out of your way to try to understand that term, right? You're dying to know. I imagine you would be dying to know. You would be curious, so curious to know, what is this person talking about? Why are they calling me this, or why are they referring me? Why do I remind this person of this thing or this character or this whatever? I need to know what this is, right? Even if it's something that you don't. Sure, blame the shares. It's all I do. It's all I do. Needs to be so short or so long. That's really interesting. Yeah, there's like one more thing I wanted to bring up in relation to this like second half of this topic, which is also that like there's this like story, could be totally fake, so I'm saying story, right, of a man who was dreaming, and in the dream he lived a whole life. Like he lived, and he met like the girl of his dreams, and then they got together, they got married, and then he had a kid, and then he raised the kid, and they lived a whole life, and he was retiring, and then he woke up and he was just like in his like 20s again, like in his body or something. It's not my story. It happened to your so yeah, okay. I remember you saying this happened to your boyfriend as well, but like also there's a different, the lamp story. Exactly, it's the lamp story. It's the lamp story, the weird lamp story. That's the one I was referring to. But yeah, like I remember someone in chat knew someone who had a similar experience. But like that was the other thing I wanted to bring up, is like, this shit sounds insane, but it really is just, it's really just stretching what I already know is familiar. In fact, so familiar that it happened to me just this morning. Not to this extent, of course. The extent it's to a greater extent, but nonetheless. There's a man who dreamed he was a butterfly. Isn't that like, that's, so there's a philosophy or something that's, I don't, there's an interesting tidbit of philosophy Not for dreaming, was it? Maybe it had something to do with a dream, but it was about like perception, like and like reality or something. And I think it was there was a Chinese philosopher. I think his name was Zhuangzi or something. Like, and he said something along the lines of how, oh, the butterfly or the goldfish is like happy, and then this other person, their interlocutor, went, oh well, how do you know it's happy? Shit, I messed it up. Did I? No, maybe I didn't. But anyways, it was like, how do you know that, like, the subjective experience of that goldfish or whatever? No, I messed it up. I think it was something like, he was talking to someone and the person went, oh, you look happy today. And then Zhuangzi was like, oh, you can't know that for sure. How do you know I'm happy? How do you understand my subjective experience? The interlocutor goes, well, I can see in your smile, you know, you've got a pep in your step. It seems like you're in a good mood. You seem happy. And then he said, thought I heard Tungli in my ears perked up. No, it's not the Osmanthus wine guy. This is like a different person who's also an old and wise Chinese man. Maybe listen to him too. But then he went on about how, well, like, can you imagine or dream as if the goldfish were happy? Nor can the goldfish imagine that I'm happy, or whether or not I'm happy. And it's like, just, it was something about subjective experience. Anyways, but where are those who share the memory? Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember. Where are those who share the memory? I can't do it. I wish I could. I wish I could be Keith Silverstein. I wish I could wake up one day and I was Keith Silverstein. I'm not, and I can't. I'll have to make do with that fact. German talked about something similar? He probably did. Damn. He was scared he was gonna be on his deathbed and he lived a whole dream life because of electrical impulses, so he'd get his uncle to smash his head with a brick in the hospital. Terrifying, scary, no thank you. I also wish one day to wake up and be Keith Silverstein. We can't both be Keith Silverstein. Or rather, we can't all three be Keith Silverstein, because there's also Keith Silverstein to consider. I would imagine if Keith Silverstein woke up and he was Karis Euphranor, he'd freak out and be like, no, I'm a VTuber. I have a philosophy degree, it's over. Like that's what I imagine. That's how I imagine, but in like a deeper, like much more sexually appealing voice. Keith Silverstein would say that. Well, actually, no, he would have my vocal cords, so he would just sound like me. But maybe in his head, he's still used to his inner voice being the Keith Silverstein voice. I can't imagine he'd enjoy it very much. Can you imagine a goldfish pushing a boulder up a waterfall? Unrelated, in Japanese philosophy, there's a concept of, or is it like, yeah, I think it's either Japanese philosophy. There's overlap between Japanese philosophy and Japanese Buddhist philosophy. But there's a concept of like the carp jumping through the gate and becoming a dragon or something. Like, wow, like having to swim upwards and then like jumping into a gate. And then it turns into a dragon. That's sort of like an allegory for life or something of the sort. I can't all be Donatello. Someone has to be the stupid rat. As long as I get to be the big rat that gets to tell what the other, that gets to tell the other smaller rats what to do. I'd be the big rat. While sleeping at grandparents, we woke up, put away the bed, made myself some tea, chatted by my grandpa, and had sweet tea with bread while watching TV, then woke up and did it again. I've had days, yeah, where like I dreamed of the thing I was doing. I wake up and then I was like, oh shit, that's what I'm doing today. Isn't Japanese philosophy just confusion? No. No, it's not. No, it's not. Confucius is a Chinese philosopher, and one of the things I think this channel I should do in the future is sort of offer a more meaningful explanation and distinction for some of the Eastern philosophies as well. I think most of my education's been in Western philosophies, philosophers and thinkers, but there's a lot of good stuff in Eastern philosophy that people don't talk about a lot, at least in an English when speaking the English language, right? It makes sense because, you know, we're speaking a Western language, we're in Western territory. I imagine we would be partaking in Western thought, and indeed that's true. But there's also Eastern thought, and Eastern thought isn't just Chinese thought. There's like other, you know. Anyways, what was I trying to say? The perceptions of time are strange and different, and something to think about in the future. I hope next time I will spend less time on this one topic and also get more talking done in relation to what I wanted to talk about. Fuck. Okay, this is something I want to open up the reading stream for. Just briefly. How the hell do I get it to work? It's not working. Okay, it's working. Let me bring you over here. You had Art of War during Fire Emblem? I did. I had Sun Tzu's Art of War. I had Sun Tzu's Art of War, but I didn't finish it. Because I haven't finished Fire Emblem yet. Because I haven't set up. I haven't been able to set it up. Okay. Hopefully, if it all works out, Fire Emblem streams can return on March. Hopefully. Hopefully, by March, we'll get Fire Emblem streams again. Sit tight by then if you're hoping for it, but I think you'll hold over, but I think February will hold you over. Okay. Just briefly, because this is, I think, in large reference to Stanford Encyclopedia, I want to just read it a bit and also just maybe not present my thoughts, but present the ideas here just as general, in a general, more digestible context. It's a wall of text, so allow me to sort of help with that, okay? Many logical questions about time historically arose from questions about freedom and determinism. In particular, worries about fatalism. Fatalism can be understood as the doctrine that whatever will happen in the future is already unavoidable. Where to say that an event is unavoidable is to say that no agent is able to prevent it from occurring. Here's a typical argument for fatalism. 1. There are now propositions about everything that might happen in the future. 2. Every proposition is either true or else false. If 1 and 2 are true, then there is now a set of propositions that taken together correctly predict everything that will ever happen in the future. If there is now a set of true propositions that taken together correctly predict everything that will happen in the future, then whatever will happen in the future is already unavoidable. Therefore, point 5, conclusion, whatever will happen in the future is already unavoidable. Now, I hate these arguments. I hate reading arguments like this as well, because it's like I get that it's supposed to be like this, and this is clear and cohesive, and it's logical, but man, does it feel like I'm doing math again. I hate doing math. Here's what that means, okay? Let's say that we can make a set of assumptions and like propositions about the future. Every proposition in this, like, you've made a few assumptions, right? You're like, you know, tomorrow will rain or it will not rain, whatever, except tomorrow will either rain or it won't rain. Okay. And these propositions are either true or not true, right? True or false in this case. A lot of philosophers are pedantic. They like to distinguish between falsity and not truthfulness, and it's fucking annoying, but you know, just for the sake of this, for the sake of it being a fucking VTuber stream, let's assume false is equal to not true. Okay. Propositions can exist for the future, and they're either true or false, but either way they exist. You can make those propositions. Now, if 1 and 2 are true, there's now a set of true propositions. You may not be able to come up with them, right? You might not be able to predict the future, but if there was an infinite, you know, imagine an infinite room of monkeys, or like a monkey with like a typewriter, you know, imagine that. Imagine that's just a bunch of propositions. There's probably a set of propositions that collectively predict everything accurately that will happen in the future. And we can make that prediction right now. And if that's the case, that set of propositions is true, and we can come up with that right now, well, then the future is unavoidable. Whatever happens in the future happens. And so therefore the conclusion is whatever will happen in the future is already unavoidable. Does that make sense? It should. If it makes sense, you're going to be freaking out. If it makes sense and you're hearing it for the first time, you might be freaking out. Because you're like, what the hell? That does make sense, but like determinism, fatalism, what? The other day, there's just a long-awaited rant stream. It's not. I'm trying for it not to be. I'm trying to stay on some topic. Okay. How do you counter this? Excellent question, Wemby. Oh, someone has to leave? Okay, Anna has to leave. Goodbye. Packing for the airport. Good luck. Pack. Get ready. Goodbye. This feels depressing. It does feel a little depressing. Went to clean the bathroom. What did you miss? You missed my a brief presentation of the argument for fatalism according to the Stanford Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Fatalism essentially says that the future has already happened and there's nothing you can do about it. It's unavoidable. Premise 1, there are propositions about everything that might happen in the future. You can make a prediction. You can put it on your, if you're like gambling, if you're a gambling addict, you can imagine there's like a bunch of parlays. I don't know. I'm trying to use the words I learned recently in a sentence and it's not going very well. Anyways, imagine you can predict the future. Whoever wins a new election in a political setting, whatever happens in the lottery tomorrow, whether the weather will rain, whether the weather or not the weather will, like if it's gonna rain or not, that's one of the things. Either it's true or not. You can make a bunch of these claims, and if you do that right now, you'll probably get some of them right, and you'll probably get a lot of them wrong, but you can make them. But these propositions are either true or false, right? They're either correct or incorrect. Now, nothing stopping someone else from making a bunch of assumptions as well, right? The point isn't that one person's right about the future. The point is that what happens in the future can be proposed is again the way this argument is presented. Now, if we just hypothetically, we can take all of those arguments, not saying we have to do that, but if we gather all of those the propositions that are true together, they will correctly predict everything that happens in the future, right? We can't do that. So like, this is just for argument's sake. Oh, we could do that hypothetically, but realistically, that's not going to happen, right? We don't know which ones are correct. Now, however, but we know there is something that's correct. We know there is a set of predictions that are correct. And if that is the case, this set of predictions, you know, this oracle, whatever, this fated list, this prophecy will happen in the future. And it will be true. Then whatever will happen in the future is already unavoidable. Therefore, whatever happens is unavoidable. That is the argument for fatalism. There's a lot of good arguments against this. I think here it says so as well. The conclusion appears shocking. Future moral catastrophes are unavoidable. Every weighty decision that now feels up to you is already determined. But it does make some significant metaphysical assumptions that raise more general questions about logic, time, and agency. For example, premise 1, that is that there are propositions about everything that might happen, assumes that propositions describing the future do not come into or go out of existence. It assumes that these propositions are here and that's it. And propositions now can accurately represent everything that happens in the future, not just, general. It's not a trivial logical assumption. You might, for instance, think that different times becoming present and actual, like perhaps possible worlds, have different associated sets of propositions that become present and actual. In other words, maybe there are new possibilities tomorrow that cannot possibly be proposed today. That's one argument. An argument for premise 2. Premise 2 appears to be a fundamental principle of semantics, sometimes referred to as the principle of bivalence. The rationale for premise 4, which, has its own set of things to argue for. The rationale for premise 4 is that it appears no one is able to make a true prediction turn out false. 4 assumes that one and the same proposition does not change its truth value over time. The shockingness of the conclusion also depends on identifying meaningful agency with the capacity to make propositions come out true or false. Here, at least in this article, right, the writers, they say, a proper discussion of fatalism would include a lengthy consideration of premises 1 and 4, which make important assumptions about the nature of what is a proposed propositional content. What is a prediction? What does it mean to predict? Is it like Library of Babel, where every possible combination of words happens? But even if that's the case, then how do we really conceptualize that into something that's meaningful? That's not just vague and perhaps avoiding any notion of common sense, right? And there's more to it, of course. There's a bit more to it. You can read Aristotle, these people, Lewis, Evans, Chris. Yeah, you can read a bunch of these people. Point being, I just wanted to present fatalism. All right, that's the first. I'm just presenting all of these. What I'm doing is I'm just going through. This is lazy content. I'm just going through the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy entry for time, and I'm explaining all the ones I think I understand. If I don't understand them, I'm sorry. I don't understand them because I didn't do this. I'm like an existentialist. All right, this is not my forte. Professor Lackitex says, I predict that everyone watching will like the stream. I hope you're right. I predict otherwise. I don't think it will. But I predict that people will enjoy it for sure. I think most people will enjoy it. Maybe not everyone, but I predict most people will. I thought fatalism was I can't change my overall future, but I can change a bit of my tomorrow. So that's more like determinism, which is, I guess you can maybe very crudely think of as like a more softer version of fatalism, where there's like different degrees of determinism as well, where like, oh, most things are determined, but not everything, and future is overall already, you can't really change the future, but you can change a little bit of yourself, like etc., etc. There's different, it's a dynamic, there's different extents, but fatalism is like one of the most extreme end of this, where it's like, what has happened what will happen is already determined, and that's it. But what does that really mean? How does it pertain to human agency? There's a reason why all of these are philosophical problems. All right. And mostly it's because you don't have to think about them. It's because no matter how earth-shatteringly challenging and difficult and extreme these problems may seem to be, and indeed they're fun to think about, there's not much beyond fun to think about, and maybe like if you're really interested in philosophy, to do some philosophy with. But otherwise, more or less, you'd be living the same way you are already. If that makes sense. Like fatalism, it doesn't reach to eternity a bit too much, though. Something we can't understand. Reminds you of the issue of God making us determined to go to hell. Yeah, there's a bunch of that, and there's also like time in relation to religion, and there's like a bunch of work on that. I couldn't possibly try to explain all of that, so I'm not going to. Hello, Zero. Hello. We're just talking on various topics of time on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Reductionist and Platonism with respect to time. I'm just going to read this. I think it's a little easier if I just read this. What if one day things everywhere ground to a halt? What if birds froze in mid-flight, people froze in mid-sentence? and planets and subatomic particles are like frozen mid-orbit. What if all change throughout the entire universe completely ceased for a period of, say, 1 year? Is such a thing possible? If the answer to this last question is yes, you know, Zawarudo, if it is possible for there to be time without change, then time is in some important sense independent of the events within time. Other ways of investigating whether time is independent of the events within time include asking whether all of the physical processes that happen in time could happen at a faster or slower rate, and asking whether all events could have happened slightly earlier or later in time. After all, if every physical process could suddenly happen twice as fast, or if every event could take place slightly earlier or later in time, then it follows that in some important sense, time can remain the same even if the way that events are distributed in time changes wholesale. Now, this is a little weird. I just figured out a way to explain this that would make sense. Allow me to just do this demonstration. Allow me 1 moment. Oh shit, you can see a little bit of my bookmarks. That's fine. That's I won't worry about that. I'll worry a little bit about that. It's fine, whatever. Okay, hold on, this might get copyrighted. Hold on. I have thought of the perfect way to explain this. You're gonna have to let me do it, okay? Where's the bit where he like I think it's like the next one, right? Okay, that's enough. Let me ask you a question. Okay, hold on, let me just so that it's okay. Is my OBS crashing from me moving stuff around? It does that sometimes. It's fine. Okay. How many times did time stop just now? It's like a multiple choice question. Could be like, what's it like? If it okay, multiple choice, right? It's either 5, 1, or 0. It's just gays screaming. That is what that is, but there's more to it, right? There's if you're familiar with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you don't really have to be. You don't really have to be like familiar with it to know. Like this is I would imagine everyone knows what I just played. First for the characters, well, we're not talking about time perception, we're talking about time itself. Wait, are you talking about our reality? So the answer is probably 0. And I say probably. But the reason I brought up those numbers is there are different ways to explain it, right? There's 5 time stops. First of all, that's just first of all, the first bit is a cheeky question, right? It's like how many times did Dio kind of do a time stop in this compilation so far, right? Where he just yells, and then that happens, and then stuff stops moving. 0 is probably the right answer, but I was hoping someone would say 1. That's what I was hoping. You know what that pause was? Hold on. You know what that, you know what that stop in time was? It was me pausing. Does that make sense? Time didn't stop here. Time's still moving. He's still throwing shit. There. I stopped the time. Sort of. In the sense of like, you know, the narrative inside. Why did I do that? Why did I do that whole explanation? What the hell does that mean? Chaos for now, what are you cooking? Let's go back to this. That's how one can conceptualize, if you're having trouble, for it to be possible to be time without change. Imagine if it wasn't Dio. You know, if it wasn't Dio, it was not, there was no Dio, but the world just zawarudo. You know, imagine if he wasn't there screaming it. He wasn't, you know, he got the fucking, like he put his hands up and he went, ah! You know, he didn't do, imagine he didn't do that. He didn't start throwing knives. He didn't talk about his bisexual encounters in the course of being a vampire. Imagine he didn't do any of those. Imagine he didn't do any of those things. But time stopped. Imagine if time, if everything ground to halt. Could that happen? And this is not just, you know, like one little bit of bubble of time. This is the entirety of the universe and existence. Not existence as we know it, but existence. Like everything. Could that time, could everything, hypothetically, could it freeze? Let's say like an act of God, you know, could it freeze? If the answer is yes, then there is now, then we must think of the time to be there's an external time that's not time as we perceive it. That's how you conceive it. You showed the deal from the OV. I'm not like, this isn't like, I'm gonna get, if I show any more, I'm gonna get copyright. I'm gonna get copyright struck. Are you talking about our, yeah, so are you talking about our reality? I was talking just in general. I wasn't really context specific, because if I was, it would be too easy. I just wanted to see what context everyone was operating on. It seemed mostly 0 because everyone's kind of like really thinking about the real world. But the answer I really wanted to hear was 1. Although it wasn't the correct one, I wanted to hear 1 as the answer, and that being like me pausing the video. Point is, imagine if I was God. Doesn't take a lot out of me to imagine that, but like, and if I were to, you know, play the universe like it was a JoJo clip on YouTube, you know. And there's this person who can stop time. Time's still going. You know? You can see that the video is still going. There's still audio. Sure, everything has stopped, but we can see Dio being a representation of like, you know, time continuing to move. If we imagine Dio froze as well, it would still be, however, would it still be moving? You know, for example, if I paused it here, if I paused the video here, is time still going on? That's kind of like the question that it's asking here. Aristotle and Leibniz, among others, have argued that time is not independent of the events that occur in time. The view is typically called either reductionism with respect to time or relationism with respect to time, since according to this view, all talk that appears to be about time can somehow be reduced to talk about temporal relations among things and events. So Aristotle and Leibniz go, no, a total zawarudo cannot happen. That's what they argue, right? And this stands as, you know, Platonism with respect to time. So it's like we are a sim and someone pressed pause. Yeah. So if that was the case, and if we're like in a simulation, someone pressed pause, is time still happening? Clearly, we stopped moving. We have completely frozen in place. Hold on. Let's say someone, like, let's say this doesn't work. My model is like breathing. You can't, I can't like pause. Maybe you pause the video or the stream. Don't do that. That would fuck up like the whole thing. So don't do that. But imagine if you did, right? Like imagine like imagine I was the sim maker and the sim was like that YouTube video of like Dio yelling Sawardo. But pause the video. Is time still flowing? That's the question. If you could just pause everything that ever exists, right now, is time flowing? We don't know that. We can't do that hypothetically. This isn't like an experiment we can go out and try. This isn't like, as far as I know, nobody has to stand the world. So we can't just go and try that. In the simulation, no, in the computer, time exists. So the point isn't what happens in the computer. What happens in the computer is in the computer, right? What happens in this YouTube video is this YouTube video. That doesn't, like, that's not time. That's just like, that's just I don't know. I don't even know what it is. But so is time flowing? The answer is yes, and there's a time external to that. The case of the simulation is different, though. The case of the simulation works, but you have to consider time and space as well, because, you know, the simulation, the whole idea of it being a simulation is about, it's more of a possible worlds question. It involves it involves time too. It involves this topic, but it is much bigger than this. It's a lot bigger than this topic. Because it considers possible worlds as well. So I don't want to jump into and say, oh, it's like a sim situation, because that's a whole other thing for a different time. But the point being, like, if time is still flowing, if everything stopped, then yeah, it's presented here. Then time is independent to events happening, in which case it would snowball into a bunch of other related issues of time. Here it's okay, good. It says here, these views about time are closely connected to views about space and about motion. Most obviously, these views about time have straightforward spatial analogs. One may be a substantivalist about space and thus endorse the existence of absolute space in addition to spatial relations between things, or one may be a relationist about space and may deny the existence of absolute space. So is there an absolute time, or is time relative, you know, to what everyone's doing and what's going on? What is time? Is there a timeline that exists? These are the questions. In addition, the choice between substantivalism and relationism about space and time has consequences for your theory of motion. If you are a relationist about space and time, then you must also be a relationist about motion. All motion is motion relative to something else. You're not moving, like, per se, you're moving relative to some other thing that is not moving, you know, or you're moving away from something. Can time stop? If there is such a thing as time stopping, is time itself stopping? Or is... That's a better way to pose this question, actually. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tara, for helping me think of this. When this happens, in the JoJo universe now, we're talking about the JoJo universe, okay? This is something I'm sure you might have thought of. This is what I thought of when I was watching it. Where's the one where he goes against Jotaro? The first one. Iono-sando. Kakyoin! This is the first one, yeah. Is this stopped time? Is that like he's like, okay, I have stopped time, right? Is what Dio says. He stopped time. And guess what he does afterwards? He goes, I stopped time for 10 seconds. What the hell does that mean? If you stopped time, how do the 10 seconds pass? He's moving around, he's throwing knives. No one else is moving around. He's moving around. He's throwing knives. He claims to have stopped time. But first of all, he's doing that. And second of all, he's counting down. He's like, you know, in 10 seconds, time will resume. What the hell does that mean? In 10 seconds. 10 seconds of what? What is the seconds a measure of? In 10 seconds of what, Dio? Will what resume? Time will resume when time ticks down? That doesn't make any sense. Dio doesn't stop time. He stops everyone for a time. It might be more accurate to say that he stops like motion. He stops non-immediately local motion. Time doesn't stop because he's still like, you know, fucking throwing knives and shit. When I pause the video, time has stopped in the JoJo universe. Time has now stopped. We're forever stuck on Jotaro's like face as he's staring him down, and he may or may not be conscious of the experience, right? Time has now stopped in the JoJo universe. But prior to that, time was not stopped. Time has continued to move. He just stopped he just stopped people. He just stopped people from moving. He stopped things from moving. He stopped things from experiencing time in some sense. Screw this and pulling the ancient texts. You can. That's the encouragement. Is like, hopefully from this stream you'll pull up the ancient texts to start reading. Where do they explain the empty container metaphor? Anyways, the point is that's a brief premise. The brief premises of reductionism, Platonism with respect to time. The abridged version of something that's already been abridged. Next. If he stops all motion, how is he breathing or the dust in the air slices in? Exactly. It's like, it's a sort of, like, it's a very local thing, but it's local to him. And the, like, how does it work exactly? We don't know. It's fantasy, of course. We're not expecting time travel, time bending fantasy to obey the laws of logic and physics. It doesn't make any sense to, but you know, and it's fun to watch nonetheless. However, that is something I wanted to bring to one's attention as sort of a good example or a good segue into thinking about time in this reductionist sense. The topology of time. It's natural to think that time can be represented by a line, right? It's a timeline, you know, it's a straight line. I'm drawing a line with my finger like you could see it. You can't see it. You can't see it. Imagine I had hands and usable fingers and I drew a line in the air. I did it there. I did it again like you could see it. I drew a line in the air. It's a timeline. But a line is a shape. What shape should we give to the line that represents time? There's a question about the topology or structure of time. Natural way is to say it's represented by a single, straight, non-branching, continuous line that extends without end in each of its two directions. It goes on infinitely in either direction, right? It's the standard topology. Excuse me, that was my lunch. You just heard me burp my lunch. My apologies. Anyways. But even if we assume that Platonism is true, it's not clear exactly what... Sorry, I skipped ahead. I skipped very far ahead. Excuse me. For each of the features attributed to time in the standard topology, two interesting questions arise. Does time in fact have that feature, you know, of it being a line that goes on forever in either direction? And B, if time does have that feature, is it a necessary contingent fact about time? So in other words, if time is time like this, and B, if time is like this, does it have to be like this? Does it have to be a line that goes on like left and right? Is that the only way to explain it? It's topology. Consider the question of whether time should be represented by a line without a beginning. So a line rather than a line segment, right? There's just no beginning, it keeps going back, you know? And obviously it's continuing to go on towards the end, but you know, you can imagine it hasn't gone there yet. Aristotle has argued roughly that time, very roughly, that's the key word here, okay? Aristotle has argued very roughly that time cannot have a beginning on the grounds that in order for time to have a beginning, there must be a first moment of time. By that, in order to count as a moment of time, that allegedly first moment would have to come between an earlier period of time and a later period of time. So there must be an earlier period of time. Okay, so that's not the first period of time. And then you go to the earlier one, you go, oh, is there an earlier time than that? Oh, there is, and it keeps going back, you know. It's regressive, it's infinity. In the same way he argues that time cannot have an end. It's a very rough way of presenting this argument. I I'm not ready to present it in full, so I'm not going to, but I'm just going to take their words for it. Max Caulfield is the time final boss. I don't know who Max Caulfield is. Who's Max Caulfield? Oh, it's a Life is Strange character. I've not played Life is Strange. I'm sorry. I've not played Life is Strange yet. Not yet. I am aware that time travel's a thing there, though. I'm aware. And of course, you know, his arguments may or may not be good, but even if it's unsound, people will feel purely on intuitive grounds that the idea of time having a beginning or an end just does not make sense. Unless you're religious. In which case you'll subscribe to a set of beliefs that are interesting. You're missing out. I know I'm missing out. I know. I'm missing out on so many games I need to play. I need to play all these games. I can't play all these games. I don't have time. And also it's like if I'm gonna sit down and play them, I might as well be talking. I will be talking while I play them. And if I'm talking while I'm playing a video game, I might as well be streaming it. And that's how we're streaming The Walking Dead in 2 days on Wednesday. We should make a schedule. Anyways. I'm streaming The Walking Dead for the first time on Wednesday, but I'll make a schedule for it, like later, so you'll see it again. And then I'll schedule the stream as well. Anyways, that's a later point in time. At the current point in time, we're talking about time, okay? And at the current point in time, we're talking about the topology specifically. We're wrapping up. That's the bit of the segment I wanted to briefly, like, introduce. Next is McTaggart's argument. JME McTaggart. I think his name is James? James McTaggart? I don't remember. He argued that there is in fact no such thing as time, and that the appearance of a temporal order to the world is a mere appearance. Some people have also argued for this conclusion, but we're just going to focus on McTaggart's argument. He begins by distinguishing two ways in which positions in time can be ordered. First, he says, positions in time can be ordered according to their possession of properties like being 2 days future, 1 day future, being present, being 1 day past, etc. These properties are often referred to now as A properties. So McTaggart calls the series of times ordered by these properties the A series. But he says that positions in time can also be ordered by two place relations, like 2 days earlier than, 1 day earlier than, simultaneous with, etc. So it's like a relational thing, right? So either like, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but yeah. These relations are B relations because they call them the B series. He argues that the B series alone does not constitute a proper time series. The A series is essential to time. His reason is that for this is that he assumes change is essential to time, and the B series without the A series does not involve genuine change. The B series positions are forever fixed. The 2 days earlier than Christmas, 1 day earlier than Christmas, 2 days after Christmas, or something to the sort. Wait, no, that would be a series A argument, I think. Or is it? I'm a little confused. I'm not familiar with McTaggart's argument. I'm presenting it for the sake of presenting all the articles here. I'm not familiar with McTaggart's work, as is obvious. McTaggart also argues that A series is inherently contradictory, for he says the different A properties are incompatible with one another. No time can be both future and past, for example. Nevertheless, he insists each time in this A series must possess all of the different A properties, since the time that is future will be present and then will be past. McTaggart concludes that since neither the A series nor the B series can order the time series, time is unreal. We're gonna do a test drive in the game. So I know it works. I loaded it up yesterday, and it seems to not be too bad on my performance on my computer. But I don't know if I'll be able to stream it. I might have to test stream it. I haven't done a test stream since Elden Ring, which is to say I haven't done one in like 5 months. So but I will for this. I will for this game. You will not see test streams. They don't exist for you. They're not for you. They're for me. Anyways, one response to the McTaggart argument anticipates involving one response to this argument that he anticipates involves claiming that it's not true any of time t, that t is both future and past. Rather, the objection goes, we must say that it was future at some moment of past time and it will be past at some moment of future time. Right? So of course things are not both past and present. Sorry, past and present and future, or past and future. Either it happened or it has not happened yet, right? So it's either past or it's future. And then it will change depending on what point in time it is. But he says this objection fails because the additional times that are invoked in order to explain T's possession of the incompatible A properties must themselves possess all the same A properties. So if you're trying to explain how, oh no, it's just that day is the future for now, but it will be the past later, then you are using the logic of the A series time, which is to say, well, right now your time is changing, but then what happens in the future then? What right now is not right now in 10 seconds. It's confusing. I'm sorry. I am not doing a good job explaining this bit because I'm not very good at it. I'll do better next year. If I wake up better and I have more time to prepare. I really rushed this out because I was like, I'm not sure what to do for end of year stream. I needed to do an interesting end of year stream, but I didn't know what, and it was a very last minute decision to talk about time. So apologies. Is he saying X is time, and if you cannot calculate X minus 2, then it's not real? No, not exactly. He's saying like time if presented in either of the ways he presented it, A and B series. Positions in time ordered according to their possession of properties like being 2 days. So if this point in time is ordered according to being 2 days future or 1 day future, like it's put on a timeline, it's a series A, or it's present, or it's 1 day past. Yeah, it's series A. Position of time that can also be ordered by two place relations. 2 days earlier than, 1 day earlier than. So it's like, you have 2 points in time. You have 2 pins. Sorry. The series A is like you're pinning something on the line, on the timeline, and series B is like you are, instead of putting a pin on the line, you're attaching a string from an existing pin on the timeline. That's what he's saying. Oh goodness, I'm not very good at explaining it. I'm sorry. And he says either of these things has problems because B does not constitute a proper time series. You can't have anything if it's just strings, because you need to have a pin as well to pin on something. And he says that A is inherent, the pins are inherently contradictory. McTaggart's argument has had staying power because it organizes crucial debates about the metaphysics of temporal passage, because it hints at how those debates connect to future debates about where evidence for the time series and the nature of change come from, and because the difference between A theoretic and B theoretic approaches to the debate have continued in intervening century. So if it's confusing, makes sense. If all of this is confusing, yeah, it's supposed to, because people are still arguing about this shit till this day. Don't understand, but I'll act like I do. Shh, that's my secret too. I'm also pretending like I understand, but I don't really. But anyways, we're moving around. Okay, and then this sort of expands into A theory and B theory, which I'm not at all propositioned to explain well. But I guess like the closest thing I can do to it, offer an explanation for what I barely understand, is the pins and strings analogy on a timeline, and the A and B theories are like the pins and the strings respectively. B theorists think all changing will be described in before or after terms, right? So it can be a string relative to something else, it's changed by something. The arbitrary space-time is a spread out manifold with events occurring at different locations in the manifold. Living in a world of change means living in a world with variations in this manifold. To say that a certain autumn leaf changes color is just to say that the leaf is green in an earlier location of the manifold and red in a later location. So timeline, you can think of it. It's like you think of a physical timeline, maybe. Atheorists believe that at least some important forms of change require classifying events as past, present, and future, and accurately describing this kind of change requires some tense propositions. There is a way reality now is, presently, which is complete but was different in the past and also will be different in the future. These tense propositions also explain why we tend to attribute significance to the past and present future distinction. For example, you might think the atheist is in a better position to explain why we care whether a horrible event is already in the past versus still in the future. Some atheists will argue that we aren't concerned with location, we care that the event is over with in reality. So all that matters is whether or not okay, maybe not all that matters, but some forms of change must be classified as either past, present, or future. So this change either happened already, it's happening now, or it will happen in the future, etc., etc. Whereas B theorists are like, there's no such thing as like, or rather, like you just B theorists are like you imagine a timeline and you just put the things on, and there's a leaf on the left side of the time that's like green, and then on the right side, on the more right hand side of the timeline, it's like red. It's confusing as well. Personally, not a fan of this stuff. If you couldn't tell, this is something I think I'm a bit more familiar with. Presentism, eternalism, and the growing block theory. Okay. You might ask an ontological question then. Do I have the... No, I don't. Does whether something is past, present, or future make a difference to whether it exists? And how do these ontological theses connect to debates about the A theory and B theory? So according to presentism, only present objects exist. It is always true, in fact, that only the present exists. What has happened in the past does not exist anymore. You know what I mean? There's no rewinding back a few seconds to something. There is nothing to rewind to. It's gone. It's bitten to dust. It's gone forever. This is quite similar to something Vsauce brings up as well in one of his videos. It's not, he didn't coin it, obviously, like someone else did, but he brought it up and was this thing called Last Thursdayism. I think I can find a clip of him explaining that.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. The dog that played Toto in The Wizard of Oz was credited
I'm just gonna let him explain
as Toto. But in reality, the dog's name was Terry. And when Terry died in 1945, her owner and trainer, Carl
This is the teacher like rolling in the
Los Angeles.
the TV, the big box TV with the tapes inside, and like the teacher's just chilling out in the back. That's me.
Right through
I'll just let it do the
grave.
dogging. It'll do better than me.
The remains were disturbed and have never been found. 53 years later, a memorial was erected in Hollywood Forever Cemetery in her honor. But because she isn't buried there, the memorial is not a grave. It's what's known as a cenotaph, an empty tomb. I was reminded of Toto's cenotaph when I saw the cenotaph of Philopapos atop the Hill of the Muses in Athens. You see, I was recently in Greece talking about YouTube with YouTube creators. The all-seeing eye of Guy came along and we visited the Acropolis, a lion gate nearly 1,000 years older than the Acropolis.
I'm just a reaction YouTuber now.
Plenty of beautiful cats.
Wow, that's crazy. That's so cool.
In Delphi. Seeing all of these things and how old they were made me wonder, how will we be remembered? How will future archaeologists react to the ruins of today's society? They find thousands.
Where's the bit where he
years
explains
from now.
Last Thursdayism? That's
Will
the
they
thing I
do
wanted
a
to-
good job piecing it together? Will anything about you in particular be remembered? And
Okay,
for
I think
that
here
matter,
he explains it if I
how do we
remember correctly.
even
It's been a
know
while since
that
I
the
watched this video.
past really happened? Not just the way we think it happened, but at all.
But at
Seriously.
all, not it all.
Can you
The
prove
subtitles are
that the
wrong.
universe wasn't created last Thursday? That everything, every person, every memory you have, every photo you've taken didn't just pop into existence last week or 5 minutes ago? Last Thursdayism is the belief that the universe was created last Thursday. It doesn't have actual followers or rituals, but proving it wrong is impossible. Not because the universe actually was created last Thursday, but because last Thursdayism is not falsifiable. It cannot be shown to be false. Any evidence you bring up against it can be explained away as part of the everything that was created last Thursday. Many people believe that.
Yeah, that's it. He explained it. That's it. So it's not exactly the same thing as presentism, of course, but there's like enough overlap that I think it gets you in the right headspace. So forgive me for being a bit like lazy in my explanation of it. What if everything was created last Thursday? You go, nonsense, my bed and my house and my computer and this philosopher VTuber, these things all happened prior to last Thursday. Well, couldn't they have sprung up on Thursday? And your memories of those, their existence be created on Thursday? How do you know that this shit happened at a specific point in time? And then if you're in that similar headspace, you can kind of arrive to presentism, at least presented here, right? Which is to say that there is no such thing as a past. There's no such thing as a, like, it didn't get created last Thursday. It didn't get created 3,000 years ago. It didn't get created 5 minutes ago. It didn't get created 2 seconds ago. Everything is the present now, and that is it. Of course, that extends into the future as well. There is no such thing as a future. It doesn't exist yet. All that exists is the present. So here it is. According to presentism, if we were to make an accurate list of all the things that exist, i.e. a list of all the things that our most unrestricted quantifiers range over, there would not be a single merely past or merely future future object on the list. Thus, you and the Taj Mahal would be on the list, but neither Socrates nor any future Martian outposts wouldn't be included. Assuming, of course, that Socrates' body ceased to be present, thereby going out of existence, according to presentism, shortly after he died. That doesn't mean that Socrates has been erased from the timeline or whatever. We remember Socrates. We remember his work. We remember his debates. We remember his character. But Socrates does not exist, presentism claims. Our memories and records of Socrates remain. That's all. In the same way that I saw one of the former American presidents has passed away today. Rest in peace, I suppose. And so, according to presentism, he doesn't exist anymore. Obviously, his body exists. Our memories of him exist. The consequences of his actions continue to exist, but he doesn't exist anymore because he's dead. It's presentism. I hope I'm not too oversimplifying it. There are different ways to oppose it. I'm not too interested in like talking about the oppositions. I don't think it's very powerful. It's more just like, or too interesting. What I do want to get into though, where is it? Okay, no, actually to get, the counter response is eternalism and green block. Okay. So there are different ways to oppose presentism, right? There's different ways to say, okay, that's bullshit. One way is to defend the view that at least some non-present objects exist. One version of this is eternalism, which says that objects from both the past and future exist. According to eternalism, no non-present objects like Socrates and future Martian outposts exist now, even though they're not currently present. So it's not that it's here, but it exists. Whatever the word exists means. Yeah, this is philosophy. This is okay. This is philosophy. We can't see them now. We don't know where they are. But we know that nonetheless it exists because, you know, eventually they will exist in the future. It might be objected that there's something odd about attributing to a non-presentist the claim that Socrates exists now, since there is a sense in which the claim is clearly false. In order to forestall this objection, let us distinguish between two senses of X exists now. Okay. Let's distinguish two ways of saying something exists. In one sense, which we can call the temporal location sense, it's synonymous with X is present, you know, it's right here. The non-presentist will admit that in the temporal location sense, it's true that no non-present objects exist now. But in the other sense, which we can call the ontological sense, is to say that it exists now, is just to say that it's now in the domain of our most unrestricted quantifiers. That just made the explanation even more confusing. Using the ontological sense of exists, we can talk about something existing in a perfectly general sense without presupposing anything about its temporal location. We can talk about it existing, but we don't have to talk about where it is located temporally on this timeline, because we don't know when. We don't know when or where. We don't know. When we attribute to non-presentists the claim that non-present objects like Socrates exist right now, we commit non-presentists only to claim that these non-present objects exist now in the ontological sense. That's what we mean. So it's like, not that it's present. What matters isn't that it's not present with us. What matters is it exists nonetheless anyways. We can talk about it. We just can't discuss it. We just have to bear in mind we do not have a sort of temporal location for it. Right? Assuming, of course, time goes on forever and ever. Okay, according to the Eternalists, temporal locations does not affect ontology. But according to a somewhat less popular version of non-presentism, temporal location does matter when it comes to ontology because only objects that are either past or present exist. Which is to say, does it matter to ontology whether or not we know the temporal location of something? There's a debate amongst that, because if you're saying it does matter, we need to know where it is in the timeline, then all we have is the past and present. We do not have the future. Right? And if vice versa, of course. On this view, this is the growing block view. This is the growing block theory. The correct ontology is always increasing in size as more and more things are added onto the leading present edge, temporally speaking. Note, however, that the growing block theory does not involve any commitment to four-dimensionalism as discussed in section 7. In this way, the name growing block is somewhat misleading, and the view is probably better described as the growing universe theory. Both presentism and the growing block theory are versions of the A theory. Basically, you can think of it as, if you're rejecting the idea that, like, the past doesn't exist. So you're saying, no, the past is real, it does exist. Socrates does exist. Jimmy Carter exists. The Queen exists, the Queen of England. Stan Lee exists. I don't know, I think recent, like, anyways, if you want to claim that they exist in the meaningful sense of existence, that is to say, we know ontologically they're there, which is a word I hate using. I hate using the word ontologically. It makes no goddamn sense, the word, and I can't even begin to explain the word ontologically beyond just giving you a Google definition, because to go into what is ontology is a whole other lecture, and I'm not dealing with that. Fuck that. The nature of being. It's the philosophical study of being. It's a subdiscipline of metaphysics. It's like, what is it to be? What is it to exist? It's not to be or not to be. It is, what is it to be? You know, that's the question. That is the question. That is the ontological question. So, growing block theory is, you can imagine the timeline is growing. You know, currently it covers a certain area. What it covers is everything that happened in the past: Socrates, Jimmy Carter, Stan Lee, the Cold War. You know, things that happened in the past, they happened and they exist. And the present, you know, what's happening right now. AI art flooding Twitter. Twitter not being named Twitter. That shit all exists now. at the moment. But what's in the future does not exist yet. Black Clover season 2, unfortunately. Yeah, that you can put that in there. Put that in that list. Well, what's in the future that doesn't exist yet, according to growing block theory? Well, fauna graduating isn't real yet. This might be a way to help you cope. Fauna graduating is not real yet because, you know, we haven't gotten there in that point in time, so it's not real. No, yeah, I understand. Yep. I finally watched the VOD. Finally got the time to watch I say finally, it was like a day after. I watched the VOD where the baby cough show. I watched the whole thing. Fantastic as usual. I was waiting for the end when Northern Lion shows up and goes, "Hey, series fauna, you're awesome." Oh, it's so good. He nailed the tired cameo voice so well. Obviously I was watching with that, but then like I was invested in the competition as well as I was watching it, the coughing baby competition, and like, my god, Elizabeth is just why is she so great? Like, why is Elizabeth Roseblood Flame so incredible? Why is she just like, why can she do everything? It's not fair. She took all of the talent and all of the charm and all of the positive traits that I wanted that were not given to me. Instead, they were given to someone else that were probably all given to her. It's not fair. Like, I don't have any of that. I can't do that. Why can't I do that? It's not fair. It's not fair. It should have been me, not her. As I slam my fist down like Yugi does in the anime. that gif. You know the one. What kind of philosophy can you evolve Ryan Northern Lion Laterno in? Not too much. I would say what I would evolve him in a project I'm doing, and whatever I'm doing would be maybe something about I would probably talk about sophistry. That's what I would talk about. And I would say that Northern Lion is an example of a really good sophist. I wouldn't say NL is a philosopher. I don't think NL is a philosopher. I don't think NL is that. And this is a weird thing to say because he's often, you know, renowned and touted as like you know, he's the only wise person on Twitch. And that's true. That's true. He is. He's the only one who possesses any ounce of wisdom. And indeed, he is definitely wise, especially for his age. But he's not quite philosophical, and he knows that too. Like, I don't think this is a shock. This would be a shock to him if I told him that, if he was sitting right in front of me. Closest he's gotten to is like being involved with any sort of like philosophy, like more hardcore philosophy is like Zizek, Slavoj Zizek. He mentions him a lot. He's just, because Zizek's just like a funny, charismatic guy. He's a serious thinker. Zizek is incredible. He's an incredible thinker as well. Whose work I cannot understand because I'm just not at that level yet. Like, there's a certain level you need to be to even understand what Zizek is cooking, and I don't. So I'm not gonna claim to know. But he is pretty funny when he says shit. I understand some of the things he's cooking, obviously, but like not enough to claim I would know. I'm familiar with his work. So if I were to involve Ryan in any sort of philosophy, I would do philosophy adjacent. I would talk about sophistry, which is the adjacent to philosophy, but not quite philosophy. It's the art of argumentation and logic and rhetoric, reasoning. The stuff he's really good at. He's pretty good at it. I do think he's really good at it. But I wouldn't say he's a philosopher. So that's what I would do if it was like my project. If it was his project, if it was something he wanted to do that I had to help. So I'm like treating this question like it'll happen, and I have to make concrete plans for it, like a fucking like the idealist that I am. But like what I mean is, like, if it's my stream, I would talk about, it would be about sophistry. If it was my stream and Northern Lion were involved, it would be about sophistry. If it was his stream, it would be Zizek. Because Zizek's like the guy that he knows and he has like an attachment to. I would probably try to imagine how that works, or imagine how to like explain to NL Zizek's philosophy on a very basic level, which would involve a lot of reading for me because I don't get it either. But I took that question too seriously. Male Zizek asks wants to be live in a video. No, he doesn't. I know he doesn't. Like, Zizek does not give a fuck. He wants to be left alone. He'll do like a show and then he'll be left alone. He's like, fuck you, I'm gonna go do my own thing. He doesn't care. He's got like the... He's the scholar's he's the scholar's scholar. He is what... He's your favorite scholar. Just as NL is your favorite streamer's favorite streamer. Zizek is your favorite scholar's favorite scholar. At least philosophy scholars. Anyways. How can I fucking... Yeah, same. Me looking at every talent that Hollow ever like hires, like how am I even gonna begin to like... I'm not on the same playing field, yet we both exist on YouTube. Like, how is that the case? Where it seems like we're so close, but so far apart. Much further apart than it feels close. But anyways. That's growing block theory. Sorry for being distracted by the present. The future has yet to happen, so it doesn't exist yet. That's how you cope. The record is needed is 9. You got it? Oh. I wouldn't... One thing's for sure. I wouldn't be heartbroken if I had to do 9. If I had to do multiple... Alright, okay, well, it's a little too much. Okay, no, that's not. It's just a hypothetical, you know? I'm not making any claims. I'm just saying, but if I were to make auditions to any, you know, corporate company out there, and I had to make multiple part auditions, I would make them all connect together. Like, they would all be temporally located, like, next to each other. The first audition takes place, and then, like, if I do another audition tape, the second audition tape takes place immediately after the first audition tape. And it deals with the events in the first audition tape. That way it's like still a creative project to me and I get to do it, even though no one will see it. Maybe I'll show it to art team, that's all. I'm not showing it to you guys. That would not fly, but I might show it to art team. Anyways, that's the hypothetical. Yes. There's more like debate and like argumentation, but that's largely presentism, internalism, and growing block. Roughly that. 3 and 4D. Oh man, I'm not prepared to talk about this. I remember being so smart. You know, careless audition cinematic universe, yeah. Which corporate would you audition for? I can't tell you that. Like, I actually cannot tell you that. I would... it would be career suicide for me to make it public, so no. For, like... For that reason, I think I can divulge that I have plans to eventually audition for something. But I will not be able to divulge any more than that. I will not even be able to divulge if I'm lying when I say I have plans in the future, and actually I have already auditioned now. I can't tell you that. You don't know, and you will never know. This is information that cannot be public. Anyways. 3 and 4D, third and fourth dimension of time. This is... I remember feeling so smart. As like in my 40s when I figured out by my own like sort of line of reasoning that, oh, what is time? Time is just the fourth dimension. Here's how I came up with that, right? I said there's an X, Y, and Z. There's a spatial X, Y, Z. This is where we are. It's a coordinate. But think about it this way. How do you meet someone? You coordinate the X, Y, and Z coordinates. You tell them, I'm here. I'm at this location. My current, you know, my third dimension physical space occupies this spot here. Okay, you can tell that. But the last thing you need to do is tell them a time as well, right? In order to meet up with someone. You know, tell them, oh, I'll be here Tuesday afternoon, you know? And so when you do that, you have to consider then the fourth dimension that which is time. Not space, but time. In a way that's like, if you can extrapolate and understand that, like, conceptually, maybe like as an image, the jump from 2D to 3D, you know, the moment it's like a square on the screen to like a live 3D thing where you can move around in this space and perceive it, is the jump from 3D to 4D. The difference, however, is you cannot walk around in 3D space and experience 3D to experience the, the difference is you need to walk around in 3D space to experience 3D, right? But you can't walk around in 4D space to experience 4D. That's not how it works, right? Or is it? And I play Moon Men by Jake Chudnow. You know, the Vsauce music. Anyways, what I mean by that is the way you experience the fourth dimension, you are currently experiencing. What does that mean? Well, you're experiencing time. You are currently in time, and that's how you experience it. Now I remember like being able to conceptualize that when I was a bit younger, and I'm a lot more naive and thinking like, that's it. I solved the universe. I figured everything out. That's crazy. It's not that crazy. It's kind of interesting, but it's not that. It's not the whole thing. Two main ways of thinking about time emerge from these discussions, and we're setting aside growing block for now, right? Why? Growing block is nice, whatever. On the one hand, atheists and presentists think that our theoretical idea of time is flowing or passing, and thus being very different from the dimensions of space corresponds to something objective and real. So atheists think that time is flowing, and it's not like a space on a map. It's not like a timeline. It's like time is continuously moving in, and we're experiencing it that way. So it's something objective and it's real, and it's like it's out there even if we don't perceive it or whatever. B theorists and eternalists reject the idea of time's passage, and instead they embrace the idea of time as being a dimension like space. So it can stop, in other words, whereas an atheist would say no, it couldn't stop. Time is time. The debate centers around the doctrine of temporal parts. It's a little boring, won't read through that too much. To get an intuitive idea of what temporal parts are, never mind, I guess we're not. Think of a film strip depicting you as you walk across a room. It is made up of many frames, and each frame shows you at a moment of time. Now picture cutting the frames and stacking them one on top of another. Finally, imagine turning the stack sideways so that the dimensional images of you are all right side up. Each image of you in one of these frames represents a temporal part of you in a specific position at a particular location in space at a single moment in time, and what you are on this way of thinking is the fusion of all of these temporal parts. You are a space-time worm that curves through the four-dimensional manifold known as space-time. Moreover, on this view, what it is to have a momentary property at a time is to have a temporal part at the time that has the property in question. So you are sitting right now in virtue of the fact that your current temporal part is sitting. So you're like a film. Again, this will be a lot better as a video with visuals. I'm sorry. We're improving on that next year. Okay? But for now, that's what you get. It's just a sort of audio description of what's going on. The doctrine of temporal parts that B theorists and eternalists tend to like can be stated like this. Four-dimensionalism. Any physical object that is located at different times has a different temporal part for each moment at which it is located. On this view, you have a temporal part right now, which is a three-dimensional time slice of you. That's you right now, but it's your 3D you. And you have a different temporal part at noon yesterday, but no temporal parts in the year 1900 since you are not located at any time in 1900. Probably. Was I located? No, I wasn't. Also on this view, the physical object is that you is a fusion of all of your many temporal parts. You are all of your temporal parts together. I would eat the film tape, problem solved. That's the way to do it. Yep, that's how. And trust me, as the philosopher VTuber, I feel the exact same way. Opposing view is three-dimensionalism, which is just the denial of the claim that temporal existence. So like you can either think of it as like, oh, you're in a film strip and there's multiple parts and segments of your life. If you play Genshin Impact, you know, rest your soul. But also like Dottore has an idea that Dottore's character is kind of like that. The snapshots of his life. And different like the different parts of him self existing at the same time, having a view of the world, and like, you know, did the clones, his clones, if you're a weeb and you're into Genshin Impact, which you might be, the stats of that are quite high since you're watching a VTuber live stream. If you are particularly invested in that media, there is a character who does something quite similar to this concept. Anyways. Yeah, sad face. I thought so. Me too. So it's not like I'm like above this. No, I'm the fact that I could raise that example. And then there's the four-dimensional. Oh my god, this is like a lot. And then there's now semantics and tensed and untensed and tensed and tenseless versions of conceptions of these semantics. I'm not getting into that. I've basically explained 3 and 4D on a very, very basic baby conceptual level. That's all I'm doing. You're not about compromise of both past and current, maybe in different spaces and time and location. Yeah, something like that. The dynamic and static theory. Many of the above considerations, especially those about McTaggart's argument in B theory, presentism, materialism, and the growing block, and the dispute between three-dimensionalism and four-dimensionalism suggest that there are, generally speaking, two very distinct ways of thinking about the nature of time. Very generally, of course. First is static theory, according to which time is like space, there is no such thing as the passage of time, and the second is the dynamic theory of time, to which time is very different from space and the passage of time is a real phenomenon. In other words, static theory suggests that, oh, it's just the fourth dimension, you know? Just as the third dimension can be manipulated by some things, so can the fourth, etc., etc. You'll find that scientists, physicists, will probably lean more towards this. Myself, I personally lean a bit more towards that direction as well when I have to think about the world scientifically. But then when I think about the world existentially, a dynamic theory of time makes a lot more sense. Like, time is just flowing, right? Is the dynamic theory of time. There's no such thing as the fourth dimension. Like, it might be a way to call it that, but time is time. There's no more dimensions. There's no fifth dimension. It's not like a thing. It's not really a thing in the way, at least in the way it's commonly like portrayed. If you subscribe to dynamic theory of time, which I sometimes do. I don't know. I've not made up my mind on these things. I think I have enough time to figure it out in the future, so I'm not too worried. The guiding thought behind the static theory of time is that time is like space. There are 6 ways in which this thought is typically spelled out. Oh, that's a lot of ways. Static theory. Okay, so how do you spell out static theory? The universe is spread out in 4 similar dimensions, which together make up a unified 4-dimensional manifold, appropriately called space-time. This is the physicist answer. They love this, I think. Any physical object that is located at different times has a different temporal part for each moment at which it is located. That is to say that it exists at different spaces at each time. So time is space-time, you know, it's another word, it's another way to say that, but yeah. There are no genuine and irreducible A properties. All talk that appears to be about A properties can be correctly analyzed in terms of B relations. Likewise, the temporal facts about the world includes facts about B relations, but they do not include any facts about A properties. If you are a fan of Einstein's work, and I don't mean you're a fan as in you pretend like you know who Einstein is because you want to feel smart and you want to pretend like you're smart to other people because you have a crippling insecurity of your intelligence, and if you do, it's okay, that's fine. Watch more of this channel and hopefully I'll help you a little bit. Well, not by that much though, really. I can't imagine helping you very much, but if you do actually enjoy the ideas of relativity, which I cannot claim to know at all, but only am sort of tangentially, I have heard of it, I am somewhat familiar, you'll probably buy the static theory of time. That's probably what your conception of time looks like. The correct ontology does not change over time, and it always includes objects from every region of space-time. Propositions have truth values simpliciter rather than at times, and so cannot change their truth values over time. Also, we can in principle eliminate verbal tenses like is, was, and will be from an ideal language. Ideally, there is no is, was, and will be. Ideally, things just are. And 6, there is no dynamic aspect to time. Time does not pass. There's 6 ways to lay it out. They admit that time seems special to us and it seems to pass, but that's because it's our like perception of it. That's just our consequences, 3D creatures, right? It's a feature of consciousness, as they say, and not a feature of reality. The second main way is to think about dynamic theory. The guiding thought this way is that time is very different from space, and it's not just a fourth dimension. Learning math to understand the world. Also, didn't Einstein admit that his view of time was not humane or something? I don't recall that. Maybe he did. I could imagine him doing that. Einstein was no fool, that's for sure. I don't think I needed to say that, but yeah, but I do mean there are some brilliant scientists that were quite foolish about other things, especially philosophy. Cough, Neil deGrasse Tyson. But no, it was not Neil deGrasse. Neil, I think a little bit. No, I think it was Bill Nye. Bill Nye used to be like I think he used to be a big philosophy denier. He was like, this shit doesn't matter. It's not real. It's not worth thinking about. Science will cure all my problems and answer all my questions. He was like that type of guy. But then he outgrew that. He learned his ways. He talked to other professors, some philosophy professors, and he really kind of learned the ins and outs, the 101s, and he grew a newfound appreciation for what philosophy actually is. And since then, he has reformed from being a philosophy hater. So I forgot what I was talking about, but that guy's cool. Oh yeah, I was like, Einstein had the respect. I think Einstein had some respect for the humanity. He did, I believe. Watch the little Einstein growing up, so that counts. We are going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship, soaring through the skies. Little Einsteins. Climb aboard. Get ready to explore. And then I forgot how the rest of it goes. So the dynamic theory of time. The universe is spread out in 3 dimensions of physical space and time, and yes. So 3D is real, but the 4D, what we claim to be 4D, time, is totally separate. It is not at all another dimension. It's just a different thing, right? That's one way to lay out the dynamic theory of time. Physical objects that are located at different times are wholly present at each moment in which it is located. There are genuine and irreducible A properties, which cannot be correctly analyzed in terms of B relations. The temporal facts about the world include ever-changing facts involving A properties, including facts about which times are past, which times are present, and which times are future. I anticipate in the future, when I come back to the stream, to do the stream in 2025, I will look back and cringe horribly at my presentation of A and B, A properties and B relations, like the A and B series of time. I'm going to cringe at, and I'm going to be like, this is a horrible explanation and it makes no sense and I fucked everything up. That's probably what I'm thinking. That's probably what future me is thinking, and I think future me is right. The correct ontology changes over time, and it's always true that only present objects exist. Propositions have truth values at times rather than simpliciter, and can in principle change their truth values over time. So propositions about the future or in the past, about the past, or about whatever, they can be true or they can be false, but that truth value can change. As time passes, that shit can be different. And we cannot eliminate verbal tenses like is, was, and will be from an ideal language. We always have to use these words because it's always relative to our current, kind of standing moment. Passage of time is a real and mind-independent phenomenon. So this shit helps you feel less fatalist and deterministic about the universe as we know it. Makes sense, right? So the vibe, here's the vibe, right? The vibe for the that's the word the kids use. The vibe for the static theory of time is that none of this is, if you flip a coin, there's no chance. You just calculate every single moment, and if you calculate the exact conditions, it will land always at a specific point in time, and you can calculate it. There's math, and there's 4 dimensions of space, at least. that we can bend and change with properties that might be not properties that are barely within the realm of physics. Black holes will do weird spaghetti shit. Time travel might theoretically be possible. All of that stuff. That's static time theory. Dynamic time theory says, we call this thing time. It's just whatever governs the changing of things. The changing of locations, the changing of people, of statuses, of conditions, of states of being, of whatever like words you want to use, right? This is what it feels like. Dynamic theory is what it feels like, and static theory is what the math checks out to be. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's like a terrible way to put it. Maybe I fucked up. Future me must correct myself right now. Future me has thank you, future me. Hold on. Thank you, future me, for correcting myself. Okay, there we go. Moving spotlight theory. Oh goodness, how many more of these? There's a similar sort of metaphor that slides along a moving spotlight that slides along the temporal dimension that is such that only objects within the spotlight exist. So it's kind of like growing block, except without the growing. That makes sense. So it incorporates the idea of space-time as a unified manifold, with objects spread out along the temporal dimension in virtue of having different temporal parts at different times. And with past, present, and future times, parts of the manifold are all equally real. But like dynamic theory, A properties are objective and irreducible properties, as well as the idea that time genuinely passes. So it's all laid out there, but there's a moving spotlight and it's going, you know, left to right probably, because that's how we read in Western contexts. So it's going like left to right and it's scanning through, and anything that's in the spotlight is the present that's there. Everything else exists per se, but we can't see it, it's not there, etc., etc. It's an eternalist A theory that subscribes to the dynamic thesis. But unlike presentist or growing block, spotlighters deny that any objects come into or out of existence. So it's not like it sprang into existence just because the spotlight came over it, it's just that now we see it. It's always there, it was always there. The Einstein thing was his view on versus Bergson's view. Interesting stuff. Oh, I see. Interesting. You took out all the flavor of the little Einstein's theme song. Well, I was trying to do like a dramatic reading of it because because if I sang it, one, it would sound bad, and two, if it didn't sound bad, like I risk getting struck. I don't know what the copyright policy is for the little Einstein's theme song, but I'm treading those waters very carefully. I've only had this channel for like 6 months. I cannot afford. Well, I've only had it. If worst comes to worst, I can restart. But whatever. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna. All right. Okay. Okay, that's the moving spotlight. Time travel. We have to talk about time travel and physics. Oh god, I don't think I can do that. I'll try. Hold on. Is time travel possible? One question that is relevant is whether time travel is permitted by the prevailing laws of nature. If you could travel back in time, then you could. Oh, it's the grandfather paradox. Okay, I presented. You know what I did? I talked about time. I talked about the grandfather paradox for my debut stream, actually. It was really to prove a point that like time travel is not that. It's not that weird and outlandish, and it is interesting to think about. That was the point I was trying to prove. I don't think I really proved anything beyond just like, oh wow, this guy really has never streamed a day in his life. You can tell by the fact that when he tried to explain something, he did it like 6 times and tripped over his words and kept reintroducing himself, forgetting that the entire thing was recorded as a VOD and not just as like, it's not just a highlight reel one can edit later. It's like it's there forever. It's almost like it was the first time he's ever used OBS and went live. That's what you would gather from the debut stream. So you couldn't quite accurately learn what I was trying to explain for the grandfather paradox. But here's how it goes. If you could travel back in time, Then you could kill, if you could, you know, you have a time machine, you can hop in it, travel back in time. You can kill your grandfather before your father was ever conceived. You could do that. Right? You're bringing a gun, stepping in, stepping out. Oh, it's the past now. You see your grandfather. Your father was not born yet. You go ahead and you go, you know, he's dead now. It's not the case that you could kill your grandfather before your father was ever conceived. Because if you did, then you would ensure that you never existed and that it's not something that you could ensure. Exactly. So, but if you could do that, well, you couldn't. Because if you traveled back in time and you killed your grandfather, then who traveled back in time? Your grandfather, before he conceived your father, could not have led to your existence. And if it could not have led to your existence, how could you have gone back in time and shot your grandfather? Wow, it's a paradox. It's not. It's a simple question. It's a sort of it's the entry level question to basic ideas of time travel. Right? And so therefore the conclusion from this particular paradox is like, therefore time travel is not possible. And so what's interesting, I think the most succinct answer I can provide, I don't remember where it's from. I learned it and internalized it, but I forget who said it. But if you look at philosophies of time travel, you'll be able to find it, I'm sure. The answer I'm subscribed to is time travel can still be possible in this case. How? Well, it's not that, oh, if you hopped in a time machine, you could go back in time and kill your grandfather. And then not split into, okay, no, sorry. There's two ways to explain this. The easy way and the hard way. The easy way is just like, oh, you know, there's multiple universes. There's a multiverse. You know, Marvel Comics? Do you know Avengers? You know, Iron Man? That's the easy answer. The easy answer is just to say when you travel back in time, it's a different world. It's a different world. Things happen there, didn't happen in this one. So you couldn't retroactively cause something that would, you know, lead to a chain of contradictions to lead to current timeline and events. So that's the easy way out, right? It's the multiverse theory. The multiple worlds theory. The harder way out is to insist that there are no multiple worlds, it's just this one, yet at the same time to also assert that time travel is possible. How do you do that? Simply put, if you could travel back in time, then you could kill your grandfather before your father was ever conceived. Could is a word used here, and that is the key word. You could travel back in time and kill your grandfather. But you did not. In the same way that you could have spent your time reading or enriching yourself or I don't know, hanging around your family, you've decided to watch this Karasufanor live stream or VOD. All right, you've decided instead to waste your time doing this. Right? You could have done something else. You could have, but you did not. The point is that you didn't do that. And so when we say you could go back in time and kill your grandfather, yes, you could have done that. In the same way that you could have gone back in time and chosen a different elective for a course in school, but you didn't. The point is that you did not do that. That's a really weird thing to wrap around, because when we think of stepping back in time, we think of traveling, we're still traveling forward in time despite, you know, the time outside of us being in a different thing. You just have to imagine that in order for it to be for it to be one timeline, one consistent timeline, one consistent world, not multiple worlds, one world. If you want to believe in the idea that there's only one world, there's no possible worlds other possible worlds out there, it's just this one, then the fact of the matter remains that you didn't kill your grandfather. It just didn't happen. Maybe you were presented with the opportunity to, and then your gun jammed, or you decided, wait a minute, this is fucking stupid. I'm not risking my life to prove some weird philosophy question. Fuck that. I'm not gonna do that. You could have done that, and you could have stepped away. You could have backed away and not done that. So that's one way to debunk this argument. The other way, another argument against time travel is to say that presentism is true. For presentism is true, neither the past nor future objects exist. You know, there's no past to travel back to if presentism is true. So you can't hold that presentism is true and also hold that time travel is real. Or is possible, not real. That's like not the right word. It's possible. A third argument against the possibility would be to claim that backwards causation is impossible. So for example, you cannot do anything that would cause anything different back in time. For example, you pushing the button in your time machine in 2020 can cause your appearance seemingly out of nowhere in, say, 1900s. You cannot do that. But that's also not very satisfying because, well, most time travel stories involve you going back in time in like 1900s, right? That's the whole point, is you're going back and you're making an impact and influence there. The answer that I made for the grandfather paradox, which is to say that, you know, you simply did not, also answers this argument, in that like you can influence, backwards causation is possible, but again, it already happened. So you cannot change the past, but you can contribute to it. If that makes sense. I will explain this more in maybe sooner. I will explain this more in the first anniversary of Karasu Fanor because it's very intimately tied to my lore. God, what a loser sentence that was. What a terrible sentence that has come out of my mouth that has removed all social points I could ever have in my life. I'm going to explain the possibility of time travel on the first anniversary of my VTuber debut because it's related to my lore. Can you come up with a sequence of words that sound more nerd emoji than what I just said? Probably not. I would imagine it's very difficult. You worry about it, written worse lore. Yeah, it's not about the lore being bad. It's about it, like, it's about me being like extremely unpopular and uncool. Like, that was the most uncool thing I could have said to most people. Anyways, so there's the arguments against time travel, of which I have denied. There's like 3 presented here briefly, of which I have denied through like a very brief counter argument, but there's more to it, of course. Again, saving it for the future. Time and physics. I think I'll skip this one. It's a lot to do with the 4th dimension. There's a bit of relativity. Newton made a bucket argument. Yeah, all right, he did. That's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into it because I think it requires explaining relativity, which I'm not ready to do yet. And finally, time and rationality. For example, if it turns out that a B theory is true and there is no metaphysically important difference between the past and future, metaphysically the past and future is the same, or personal past and future, the philosopher Lucretius suggested that if there's no difference between time past and time future, we should care much less about the deprivation that death will bring. But we may think that even if B theory can describe everything that is metaphysically important without positing an important difference between the past and future, there is still an indispensable psychological importance to the past-future distinction that rather the rational agents still honor. So, which is to say that rationally, like some people argue that you don't have to think about past and future, and worry about time because, you know, this all, or rather, you don't have to make that difference. They're all the same thing. The past is the same as the future. When you die, what happens? Well, where were you before you were born? That's right. That's the answer. So that's like that. The answer that gives is as a philosophical stance that is argued. What's your favorite dimension? I'm a VTuber, so it has to be 2D. Uncool unk status. That's that. Yeah. So lame. All right, no more of that stuff. Anyways, if we deny 3-dimensionalism and instead view ourselves as objects that persist through time by having temporal parts, then does that justify caring less about temporal parts in the distant future that are less strongly linked with our present part? Derek Parfit famously argued that a proper understanding of what we care about when we care about our own future persistence should motivate us to be less self-interested and more interested in redistributing resources to others. So Derek Parfit, among other things, let me just show you. Because what's the point of me like reciting it from memory? I have nothing to prove. I'm just gonna go on the Wikipedia page. He talks about personal identity, rationality, and ethics. He argues for like charity and stuff as well, among other things. Anyways, he argues that proper understanding of what we care about when we care about our own future, persistence, like our own. If we want to care about our own future, we must be less self-interested, more interested in redistributing resources to others. Endurantists have argued that facts about how we persist through time underwrite a strong distinction between moral principles and prudential rationality. Also, one thing I can add, maybe that this reminds me of, that is a bit similar, is the whole idea that, oh, this thing that I could like think about or do, you know, or this chore I must do, these clothes I must fold and put in back or throw into the laundry basket and into the laundry, or these dishes I must wash, etc., etc. That's for future me to worry about. Present me doesn't have to give a shit, so I'm just gonna kick back and relax. In the same way, this is sometimes used contemporarily for people to justify terrible decision making. Oh, should I indulge in an overdose in alcohol at this public setting in which there's no real reason to, other than multiple people in public chanting for me to do it? I suppose I shall partake. And then you drink yourself to a misery. And you think, well, that's for future me to figure out. You know, present me doesn't give a fuck. Wahoo. That is that line of work, or rather that line of reasoning, to me, right? My answer is that line of reasoning is sound in the moment. But guess where, like, and you're thinking, well, I'm not there yet, I don't have to deal with it. It's true. But guess where you're headed? Guess where you are going right now? You're going somewhere right now. Or rather, you're going sometime right now. Right? And that is the future. You're headed towards the future. So, okay, it's, you know, it's the future, it's my future self, you know, it's whatever. I don't have to worry about it. Fuck that, I don't care. Well, you're headed there. The train is going. You can't put a stop to this. You're on your way. You should be a little concerned about the future. At least a little bit. After the stream, I will share my opinion on Twitter. Feel free, of course, feel free. You can share your opinion here if you want. I don't mind either. Chat, can we crowdfund a 4-dimensional model for the librarian? 40 is a little much. I would be pretty excited for like a faux 3D, like a 2.5D, like a fake 3D, where it's like, it looks like there's 3 dimensions, but you're still perceiving it in a 2-dimensional way. But I imagine that would be very difficult. One of the things I wanted to think about in the future is like how, like a model that would just capture my movement, but in a way, because a lot of VTubers, they have nice looking models, but their models are not usually that expressive. And the more expressive a model is, the less aesthetically pleasing it tends to be. First of all, that balance I think can be struck, and I would love for that for a future model upgrade. Maybe I have to reflect that. And second of all, that expressiveness would be so helpful, because so much of what makes my Kamiyoshi Germa funny, and what I've picked up from that or in my years of doing theater, is like subtle expressions I can do very well, but subtle expressions cannot be captured through like a live 2D model. You have to only hear it by my voice, and so that's one of the things like I think I would love eventually if I could like overcome that as part of a streaming, to just be to have a more expressive model that's also like consistent. But anyways, that's an aside. 3D chairman, put him in a VR chat. Sooner or later he'd implode. I don't have a VR headset, so it's going to be very far into the future when that happens. But if I do get that and I manage to rig that and like figure out how all that works, I would be interested in doing a 3D like VR streams. It'd be really fun. Stream Deck and Looney Tunes emos. Do you have any idea how expensive Stream Decks are? I looked it up because I was like, oh, I kind of want one. Looked it up, I'm like, nah, I'm not getting one. That's not happening. I'm not getting a Stream Deck in the near future at all. At least until I can get monetization working, and then I can like get AdSense, like the few cents on pennies and like maybe dollars or two whenever I do a Class of 09 stream. Maybe I'll make a few dollars and then eventually like that'll help me save up for like a Stream Deck. So that's still far in the future. I don't have to worry about that. And so yeah, the last thing is like, when you think of yourself in the future, don't think of it as, oh, that's future me. Future me will deal with that. You will never stop saying that's future me's maybe's problem. Yeah, so stop saying it. Stop. You are not future you yet, but you will be. You will be future you very shortly. And trust me, time creeps up. You're gonna experience short, long. You're gonna experience the oh, like this time seems short in the moment, and then once you're out of it, once you're in hindsight, you're like, I just wasted 4 hours doom scrolling or watching a VTuber or something. Shit, how long have I been streaming? Okay, it's only been 3 hours. It's okay. 3 hours is okay. No one still puts things off. I know, and I do too. I struggle with this as well. We all do. But remember that time is not on your side, it's not on anyone's side. Time is, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a 3D shape, maybe it's a 2D shape. Maybe it's dynamic, maybe it's static. Maybe it's A or B. Maybe things are fated to happen and that's just how it is. Maybe there is radical agency and nothing has happened yet. In any case, and in every case, you owe it to your future self to treat your present self well enough. And that doesn't just mean, oh, you know, to kick back and pamper yourself. There's an element of relaxation and rest that's necessary, yes. But also, you gotta fucking work on your shit. Fuck past me. Yeah, I get that. I don't think I hate past me. I think past me did some really dumb shit. No, okay, it's not that dumb. I don't think I've ever done something terribly stupid. I've done some not very wise things, but nothing terribly stupid, I would imagine. Especially not in recent memory. It's been a long time. I'm 60 years old. But I do think of the what could have beens. Oh, imagine if I just nudged, my younger self was just nudged more in the direction of being a lawyer instead of being a philosopher. That way I wouldn't have to worry about being in debt and not being able to afford buying a Stream Deck or like, you know, anything like Steam games that are on sale. Like if only I'd pursued the path of law. Who knows? I remember when I was very young, I aspired to be a lawyer. I aspired to be a court judge was what I aspired to be. I wanted to skip the whole, I wasn't interested in being a lawyer. I wanted to skip. Yeah, so what were you going to do before being, when I was really, really young, I wanted to be a court judge. I don't know what the word is, like a Supreme Court judge, like a really high ranking judge is what I wanted to. And I wanted that. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wanted to just skip the lawyering and head straight to the judging. That's what I wanted to do. Obviously, that's not how it works. You know, like that's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. And then I, you know, figured out that, oh, okay, like I have to memorize so much stuff and my memory is terrible. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just I can't do it. Like my memory is the worst thing in the world. I cannot remember anything I read. I always look things up. I have no pride in knowing things. I have some pride in being able to recall glimpses of things, but not actually the things themselves. Whenever I talk about something, I have to look up the Wikipedia page for it just to make sure. And then, like, you know, having a bad memory will not help you in law at all. Also, for some reason, when I was deciding, I thought philosophy was more important, which might be true. It might be more important, but it pays less, that's for sure. That's one thing that is absolutely certain, that there is no doubt in my mind for. Philosophy definitely pays less. There's less money here. No one gives a shit. No one in philosophy likes you if you do philosophy. All the philosophers hate each other. There's no camaraderie. There's no like, oh, we're in the same field. It's not like the STEM people. God, it's like, okay, hold on. Okay, before I delve into that rant, let me just finish up. So that's time and rationality. Overall. And that is all the topics of time I wanted to cover mainly. And this is according to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy that I wanted to do. It was a reading stream / discussion stream, and those are the main things that happened, right? Now, let me bring myself back here. Okay, a bit more casual now. Tone's a bit more casual now. Tone could be a bit more casual. Drunk Kara's ranting about how much he hates teachers. I don't hate my peers, but my peers hate me. That's all I'll say. You'd much prefer a lawyer who looks up off instead of a lawyer who's pretty sure he remembers them. So the thing is, you want both. You want a lawyer who remembers things verbatim and still looks them up anyways. I cannot still remember them anyways. All I will do is just look them up. Because obviously lawyers don't commit everything to memory, but they have a good idea of where it is, right? So they, like, according to my legal team and some of my friends who do law, and several seasons of Better Call Saul. Was it 6 seasons? Like, yeah, and 6 seasons of Better Call Saul. Lawyers don't usually know everything off the top of their head, or they do remember what the case name is and when the case was, so they can look it up. But the details of those cases specifically, they have to look up, obviously, and refer to and make sure that it is a proper reference to. And so you do need that, like, memorization. You do need to be able to remember shit. I can't do it for the life of me. I just don't have it in me. I don't have it in me. Miserable. Anyways, yeah, I was about to rant about not my peers, but I'm watching like fringe educational VTubers. You know, I've been paying attention to a few of them. Some of them are my Twitter mutuals. Guaranteed none of them watch my stream, because it's like, who cares what this guy thinks, but they want to be Twitter mutuals anyways to be nice. I understand that. I doubt they'd watch my stream though. I follow a few like educational VTubers, and there's like a few science ones, and they're great. Like, I really like them. And the worst part is, or rather, it's the best part for them, and it's the worst part for me, right? Here's what I mean. I'm not about to like. Here's what I mean. The worst / best part is they're all so united. Like, everyone who's interested in science communication, like, the moment they hear of the concept of like a science VTuber, they're like, that's perfect. Yes, that's amazing. We're so supportive. It's gonna be a whole community. I don't know if anyone follows my Twitter, but I quote tweeted a while ago. There's this thing called like V Theorem. That's a whole like it's a project. It's a little group of like science communicators who want to, you know, make science communication more mainstream and through VTubing. And there's like a whole network, a group of VTubers who support each other, and it's like, it's so nice, it's great. Like, for all the STEM people out there supporting each other, there's no philosopher equivalent for V there. There's no philosopher guild. There's no fucking like collection and community of people that's like supporting me doing what I'm doing. I can't look over and go, hey, I'm not really sure about this perception of time stream I'm gonna do at the end of the year. I know I want to do it. I want to talk about the philosophies of time, but it's not my subject and field at all. I'm not really familiar with that. You know, you help? Like, I have no one to that. I don't have that. I'm on my own. I gotta start reading shit and try to recall the very 101 bare essence things in my like undergrad courses. I'm like, oh fuck, okay, I think that's kind of familiar. I might have dealt with that before. I don't know, what is this thing? And if I look something up and it doesn't make sense, that's it. It just stops making sense. I can't refer to someone else. Well, I can, of course I can. I can like, there are like other librarians. They just don't stream, but there are other librarians, and I ask them like stuff, and then they help me. And I go back to the stream and I go, hey guys, this thing I can explain now because someone helped me understand it because I'm a fucking idiot. Anyways, like what makes me really salty, like in a good way, like obviously in a good way, right, is like the science, the few like niche fringe like educational VTubers I follow, the science ones at least, are like so united and together, and it's so nice that they're all like there for each other. They have a common goal and purpose. They enjoy what they're doing. They believe in a mission that's really like, it's a good mission, like it's a good goal, like to be a good science communicator. I think that stuff is really important. Where's that for me? Where is it? Where? You start a philosopher group? So I've been following, you don't know this, periodically from time to time, I just go on Google and I just look up philosopher VTuber. And I'm suffering from success here, partially because it's probably detecting from my device and my geolocation. But it shows me myself, and I'm like, I know I show up on Google for that, but I don't care. I'm not looking for myself. I know where I can find myself. I'm looking for other people. I'm looking for other people who are philosopher VTubers. No one is a philosopher VTuber. There are a few philosophy VTubers. There are VTubers who talk about philosophy, and they talk about philosophers, they talk about ideas, but no one's like a philosophy VTuber. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of like if I was Gargura, right? Imagine if I was Gargura, I was a shark, right? And I'm looking around for mutual support from other shark VTubers. And all I find are not, I can't find any shark VTubers. All I can find are marine biologists who enjoy sharks. You know, that's all I find. I'm looking around for other VTubers. I'm looking around. Where's the other shark VTubers? I'm alone, you know? I need help. I don't know what to do. I look around and it's just marine biologists. And sure, marine biologists might be able to help me. They might be able to, you know, tell me about my sharkness and my shark qualities and help me produce shark content, I guess. But they're not sharks. So I can't really, there's only so much sharkness I can learn from a marine biologist that I couldn't learn if I was just a shark, right? Yeah, seeing a nice and welcoming the STEM VTuber communities, and it's like, congrats. It should have been me. Oh. There's Kyozia. I follow Kyozia, yeah. She debuted recently, right? Let me check. To like a lot more people than I did, but yeah, she did. So if you look at philosopher VTuber, it's her now. It's not me anymore. Like, it used to be me for a while because no one would use the word specifically philosopher VTuber. They would use VTuber and then philosophy and then philosophy VTuber. They wouldn't use philosophy VTuber. Kyozia came out and immediately stole all my thunder. Like, it's all gone now. It's all gone. Kyozia has stolen everything that's precious to me. And like, I am Wanda Maximoff walking into the battlefield going like, you took everything from me. And Kyozia looks at me and goes, I don't even know who you are. Who the fuck is Karis Euphranor, man? Like, who is this? Get this guy out of here. And Kyozia is gonna like take the Infinity Gauntlet and then smack me out of existence. Like, oh, no. That's what will happen. That's what has happened, I suppose. Anyways, I hope Kyozia does well. I hope everything goes well for her. She's like, it's not fair. You're a philosophy VTuber and you're drawing, like you're an illustrator. I can't draw. It's not fair. I am following Kyozia. That's right. I mentioned I was following this person ever since the debut. I saw, I was like, oh shit, I want to follow this. I want to know what the philosophy YouTuber's up to. And so far it's been mostly like drawing streams. It's a lot of drawing and chatting, art contest, business work, chatting, art contest entries, Christmas party drawing stream, Miku drawing stream, drawing donuts and talking about aircraft. Yeah, so far Kaiozia hasn't streamed anything philosophy yet. I await the day. I hope it comes. He really likes using that Gura Shark VTuber example because Gargura is the platonic form of VTuber. You don't understand. Like, she is like the platonic form. She's as closest as we'll get to the platonic form of what a VTuber is. She is. Love her or hate her, you cannot deny she is the most VTuber to ever exist. You know, like the rock that exists in like a museum somewhere. I forget where. It's like a country. It exists in a. Well, thanks, Karasu, for there's a rock in a country. That's crazy. You know that like there's like a rock or like a stick in like a glass case in a museum, in a display case in a museum in a country somewhere, where it's like the 1 meter ruler or something, and it's like all of our measurements are made according to that ruler. Like, that's Gargura. Okay, that's Gargura. You cannot talk about VTubers without thinking about and mentioning Gargura. That is how she is the platonic essence of what it means to be a VTuber. Okay, how much of a VTuber I am is solely contingent on how similar I am to her, and because I have no blue in my color scheme, I am not very much a VTuber at all. I don't believe that, but I wanted to say that. I don't believe it, but I thought it would be funny to say. Anyways, there's a Lacrimosa person activist recently. Yeah, I thought Lacry he stopped streaming, didn't he? I follow Lacry as well. You see that you're following them? Yeah. You can see on their Twitter I'm following them. Lacrimosa VT. When's the last stream was 2 years ago. Yeah, so he hasn't streamed in like a while now. He's even smaller than me. He's got like 142 subscribers. Very small. I don't mean that like to. I don't mean that in like a way that's like, you know, worse. I mean like small is what I mean. I'm small. Like, it doesn't. I don't. In case it wasn't obvious, but I realized that might have come across as like haha. So I want to amend that. No, that's not what I meant. I am following Lacrimosa. I hope Lacrimosa comes back. I want to see what he cooks. I don't know what. I don't think they've cooked any philosophy. I don't think he's cooked any philosophy. He goes by he him, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he has any philosophy on his channel though. It's been like playthroughs of games, which is fun, but there's nothing, you know, there's no philosophy here. There's no philosopher here. There's a few as well. I follow a few. I like every time I discover a philosophy VTuber, a philosopher VTuber, I follow them on Twitter. So if you find one and you click on them and I'm not following them on Twitter, tag me, so I will know to follow that person. Maybe you can tag them as well. If, I don't know, but like you might annoy them. You have my permission to do it to me. Maybe DM me. I don't know, so you don't annoy the other person. But it's something of the sort. It's something of the sort. He has a BRS phone. What's a BRS phone? What's a BRS phone? BRS Golf. I don't know what that is. Oh, BlackRock shooter themed phone. I see. Okay. The philosophy equivalent of Shark Weeks, do enough to everyone else take part. I played a little bit of BlackRock. Wait, or did I play a different one? Different game that sounds like that. What does BlackRock shooter look like? BlackRock shooter. No, I played it. I did not play this. I did not play this. No, I'm mistaken. I'm sorely mistaken. I don't know anything about that. YouTube really stopped streaming without saying goodbye. It's a new type of heartbreak. It's like waiting for your dad to pick you up from school. You forgot to use this. I know, and it sucks. Even and when they tell you they're leaving, it sucks as well. It feels like there's no happy way for like a VTuber to leave. I'm sorry, you said YouTuber. I was thinking VTuber, but yeah, YouTuber. Game song animes. I see. An IP. Right, it's an IP. Okay. But yeah, Lacrimos hasn't streamed in a while. Don't know what they're up to. The other one is also alive. There's like a few. There's one that's like there's like a cowboy VTuber who talks about philosophy. She has a few philosophy shorts. I follow her on Twitter as well. There are a few accounts that are VTubers that claim to talk about philosophy, and they do probably, but they're in a language that's not English that I don't understand. So VTuber Samuel Walls? No, it's like a I think she's like different from, she doesn't really have the Sam Walls vibe, I think. Actually, I don't know. It's not that different. Yeah, I don't know. She exists, but she doesn't stream on YouTube or Twitch. She streams on this like, I don't know what this is. It's like an exclusive, it's a VTuber interactive platform. I don't know what that is, and I don't trust it. Not that it's, I'm claiming it's bad or suspicious. Merely that I am comfortable with YouTube, and that's what I will do. Be a fan is to suffer. Karis chairman knows it well. Yeah, it is. To be a fan is to suffer. I understand. I'll do everything in my power to not make that the case. I follow them on Twitter, so all the people I'm mentioning now, I think I follow on Twitter, so you can stalk my following on Twitter, I guess. I don't know. You can follow me. I'm not gonna follow you back. I've stopped following my viewers back ever since like my 3rd or 4th stream, so I'm like not doing that in the future. Somebody graduates, so sad. I know, right? What the hell? Okay, I'll be real. It's already shaping up to be that way. Gargura is gonna graduate. Like, that is, I think, gonna be historical. I really think she probably won't do this for very long, for very much longer. She's probably gonna do the thing that Ahmed did, where it's like she's gonna be an affiliate and she'll show up for like concerts and shows, maybe, because her IP is just so big that you cannot possibly like let go of that. Like, that is an insane thing to let go of for both parties involved. There's just too much money on the table that Gargura, like the brand of Gargura, can bring. So they're not gonna like retire the character, but she's gonna graduate. Like, I can tell. I don't see why she would. I just don't. It's just it's just her constantly being burnt out from streaming and not doing it very frequently, as much as she did right when she right at the beginning when she debuted. It's like, it's a meme, right? It's almost like a meme in the community that chum buds are just waiting. Like, every stream she does is like a returning stream. Just like how K-pop fans describe every album as like a comeback. It's like you made the album 2 months after your last one, and it's like, oh my god, they just dropped a comeback album. They're not coming back. It's been 2 months. They're making music. Give them time. But that's a whole other topic for another time. Platonic Ideal is funny because it's almost more not good than good. It is interesting though. I mean, that's like, but out of all the VTubers, right, that exist, if you are to like look up a search engine, walk around in like an environment in a public sphere, a public area, and if you were to tally up merchandise or fan art or mascots or whatever, like an image of some VTuber, and you tallied up the score, Gargura would undoubtedly be in first place, and it would not be very close. Maybe I'll get proven wrong, but I am very confident that's the case. I'm very confident. He's like the platonic essence of what it means to be a VTuber. You won the game of VTubing, so it just really depends how she feels about making it. Yeah, I agree. And I think she, in her heart, probably wants to do a lot of the idle stuff that Hollow Pro is pushing, that Cover is pushing. She probably does want to do that stuff, but I just don't know if she as a person has the, from what it looks like to me, from an outsider perspective, because I don't know these people. I don't mind like sort of doxing, like I'm not like, it's not even doxing, like I don't mind telling you, I don't like giving you the personal information that I do not know any of the Hololive people personally. Like I do not know what's going on in their lives, but from what I can gather as like a viewer, she seems like she wants to do it, but it seems like she's not able to do it to the frequency of and expectations, and has to, you know, undoubtedly has to bear the expectations of Covercore Yago himself asking her to do it. I feel like she wants to do all that, but I just feel like she might not be, like her state as a human being might not be able to do all of those things to a schedule that's so strict. And so I imagine she could be like either this current mode continues, like where she just streams very occasionally and she'll show up for events and concerts and birthdays, or they announce the affiliate thing or whatever they called it, I forgot. Associate? Something of the sort. Dodgers collab was brain frying. Yeah, it was so funny. It was incredible. I didn't know a thing about like baseball, but it was well worth the reaction, the online reaction alone to witness that. It was incredible. Oh. Unbelievable. Gura could get a collab for anything. Maybe not anything, but like, you know what I mean. Like, if there is like a VTuber that, okay, she's the VTuber with the most clout, for sure. If there are VTubers reaching out and going around and like, you know, asking for permissions or something, or asking for collabs or whatever, I think she has the strongest power if Covercore allows her to do that thing, obviously, right? If it's like, you know, not a brand risk, if it's safe for the brand, Gargura has the ability to do anything. Like, not only does she have a bigger ability, a stronger ability to do to get anything than anyone who's ever done VTubing in the history of VTubing, but also it's beyond VTubing how big her influence can be and how much clout she has, that like, it's weird. It's weird talking about this person like in this like almost elevated godhood level. And then I watched the stream the other day where she was just drawing like all their holo memes with Fauna and talking about stuff and being silly. It's so weird. Like, this person is just being like a silly person. Like I'm 6 years old. This is like a kid. Like, I'm watching a kid. I'm 6 years old. I'm sitting in my chair. I'm rocking back and forth. I'm looking through the window and I see this kid with like the world, with like the essence of the world in her fingertips to grasp. It's insanity. Money Shark exists. It's unbelievable the power she contains. True. That's like, I'm just baffled, bewildered at the power of the funny shark. Like, it blows the mind. It is out of my comprehension. I cannot fathom that Gargura is a real thing, and I cannot fathom even further that Gargura is just some like girl streaming. Like, she's a silly girl just streaming. That's what she does. And she's funny. She's entertaining. She's fun to watch. She sings pretty well. She's getting better at it. You know, she does the idol stuff. What's crazier is the rest of Holo doesn't even get half the attention. Yeah, like she gets so much attention. She's the mascot for sure. There's no contest. Arguably, you can say within Japan, it could be Suisei instead. It could be like I don't know who else would be like at that level. Pekora? Yeah, you can argue it's Pekora, Marin, Suisei. but that's strictly for JP, which is, you know, obviously where they're from, and it matters a lot. But on a worldwide scale, it's Gargura. It has to be Gargura. See, one of our MVPs got 100 million? Really? No, I didn't see recently. Well, or rather, I wasn't aware. 100 million. Yeah, this is it. This is like the future. This is the future. It's like, yeah, shit like that happens, and then you look at the Hollow Stars, and then they average like 300 concurrents, and it's a little heartbreaking. It not to say like it's, and it, you know, and they average 300 concurrents not because they're like untalented. They're like the most talented motherfuckers I've ever seen, and they just have low interest because people don't care about the Hollow Stars. And it's sad. It sucks. I'm sad about it. Every time I think about the Hollow Stars, I'm sad. Hi, hello ghosts. I'm just about done wrapping up a stream, the time stream. It was about time to the end of your discussion of what is time. We talked about perception of time. We talked about various philosophies of time. We talked about dreams, time and dreams. We talked about time travel. We talked about time and rationality. We talked about time in a space, in a 3D space-time. We talked about 4 dimensions. Albeit very briefly and not very well. That is what I've done. I should keep the VODs shorter. I think people like shorter VODs, but I'm not sure. I think people like concentrated VODs. I think that's what's going on. Too bad I'm not on time. Don't worry, there's always the VOD. The VOD is eternal. It stays here forever. But yeah, time is a difficult subject to talk about and think about. It is not the first, nor will it be the last time I talk about it. I just thought it was appropriate to bring up some of the ideas, the interesting ideas ahead towards the end of the year. This is the end of the year. It is the mark of a new year. It is soon, very, very soon, in like about a day. It is the mark of half a decade in one of the most exciting centuries and millennia around. It's definitely top 2 in terms of millennia. If there was a millennium ranking, it would be top 2. The 2000s. I would say at least top 2. It's so interesting, the stuff that's going on. What are you talking about? New Year doesn't exist. Future's not something after all. Well. I don't have the music. I don't have the visa. Wait. Where the hell is... Hold on. Or is it? The future doesn't exist, or does it? Oh, that's a recomposition. Damn it, no! I hope he doesn't copyright strike me. Jake seems cool. I think he'd be okay with it. New Year's doesn't exist. It's not real. Yep. Are you going to buy some fireworks this year? No, not really. I'm not really a fan for that. I enjoy the countdowns though. I think the countdown spirit is fun. I don't really... I watch the countdown streams and I like go prance about. But, well, countdown is technically tomorrow's. It's not today. So, there's still some time left. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their year. And I will see you next year. That's true, I will. For The Walking Dead. That will be streamed on Wednesday, the 1st of January. 2025. We're going to be playing The Walking Dead. the first time, I'm gonna be playing. I say we, like you've all probably played it. It's like an old thing. You can buy a commercial license for Chetna's music, although Michael did mention it was composed specifically. I know, yeah, so I know it was specifically for him, but I didn't know you could buy a commercial license. It's interesting. Well, when I can afford to, I would, but I can't afford to, so I will not. I'm just gonna leave it for this last bit of the stream, and if it like strikes me down, then I'm gonna like mute this part of the stream or something. I don't know. You'll see. If the VOD gets nuked, you'll know why. You'll know why. No more 2024, at least for like another day. Onwards to 2025. I hope everyone's got their resolutions ready. I hope everyone's got their affairs in order, not because they're dying, but you know, just in order in general, really. I hope everyone looks forward to a new year, not for, you know, the new year being magical. There's no magical reset of anything. The calendar, it's another day, you know, it's just another flip of the calendar. Of course. It's a nice, neat flip, but nonetheless, just a flip. That doesn't stop us from celebrating it. It doesn't stop us from thinking about it. It doesn't stop us from taking the opportunity to reinvent ourselves constantly as we do, to self-actualize, to become more human, to become better people. To become better selves, to finally do some things that our future selves will not, you know, want to kill us for. It's time to do the thing that you really wanted to do that you didn't have the chance to do in 2024. The truth is, it always was time for that. It could have been any time, really. I mean, you know, I'm the philosopher VTuber. I do have to add that in. It is arbitrary, January 1st, but you should take advantage of that arbitrariness and do something with it. Do something. Just do something. Pick up your laundry, clean your room, learn a new skill, pick up a new hobby, try something at least. Talk to a friend, reconnect with an old friend, reach out to an old friend who you don't talk to a lot, tell them Happy New Year, ask them, hey, how are things going? You know? Would you like to hang out sometime? And then go to a hangout. See how they are. Catch up in life. Maybe tell them that you started watching VTubers recently, and there's this particular philosopher VTuber that is quite interesting. Tell them that. What else? Take these arbitrary opportunities as if they were real. They're not. Time isn't real, okay? The passage of time, maybe it's not real. The flipping of the calendar is not real. It's like we made it up. We made time up. We made all of these things up, all these concepts of what time is, the passage of it, the fact that it exists, the fact that things change, the fact that there's motion. We might have made all of that up. But that's not what matters. What matters is we can make more shit up. Let's do it. Let's make more things. Not because there's any significance in the new year, but because there's all the significance in you being able to take advantage of the new year. Okay, get out of here. It's like it's over. I should have timed it a bit better. I should have transitioned to the end screen a little earlier as the music stopped. I wanted to play the music once. I should have transitioned like right when it would stop. And then I didn't. And then it's like it went too quickly. I should have or it went not quickly enough. I should have went a bit earlier. I'll time it right next year. Goodbye.